was you. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. Woo! You made it to the end of the week. And Simphiwe and I are here to look after you this morning. Ben will be joining us shortly. We have loads of things to talk about, to catch up on, to get to. I hope you're having a good start to your day. Simphiwe is just saying now we usually complain that the studio is freezing. And it's like the aircon is always on for the equipment. But somehow it is so cold outside that it is colder than it is here.
Yeah, like the studio feels warm today. I could take off my scarf. I could just chill in a tank top, and I'm like outside.
That's how you know when the aircon's set to the coldest temperature and it's still warmer than outside.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the weekend ahead of us. It's a long weekend. Remember, Monday is a public holiday.
Really? That's good news. You just reminded me.
Bonus. I know. When you forget these things and someone tells you, you're like, oh, yay. Because most people don't think about it and don't plan it. Because the 16th, Youth Day, is on Sunday. And because it's a Sunday, we get the bonus Monday. So
Isn't it also
don't pitch
Father's
for work.
Day?
It's Father's Day as well. Yeah. But that's no holiday, trust me. If that was a holiday, there'd be a whole lot of people who couldn't celebrate it. Let's just... lots of men in this country should shut up and just run and hide on Father's Day. It's interesting when you get like this bonus holiday because it doesn't really make sense. I mean, like they won't give us, if the public holiday is on a Saturday, you don't get an extra day.
Yeah.
Now, to me, losing a Saturday is way, way bigger a deal than losing a Sunday.
Yeah, I guess.
Stupid. So next week, we can have 4-day week. Don't pitch up at work on Monday. You will be the only one. Unless, of course, you're one of those professions where you have to pitch and they don't give a damn.
Rather you than me, eh?
There are those
Rather
ones.
you than me.
No, there are those ones. So what do we got? What do we got planned for the weekend?
I did not know it was a long weekend.
She really didn't. We've caught you completely off guard.
So that changes everything. I'm like, girls, let's go out. Let's do something. Because all I wanted to do is just chill. It's very nippy now. So, yeah, I just want to be indoors, catching up on some old movies. I'm not even watching new stuff. Like, don't ask me what's trending.
Stuff. No, old stuff.
Old good movies. I'm like, I know the lines, and I'm like, I'll be back.
I like the hat.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be warm.
You have to be cool to wear a hat like that. If I wore that, I'd look so stupid. So stupid. I'm not a hat guy. Like
you have to do the gang signs as well.
Yeah, remember we were talking the other day about balding, right? And like if I were bald, I would just be the ugliest bald guy ever because I think I have a weird shaped head. But the same goes for hats. Like I'm not one of those people who can pull off a hat.
And there's people that can only pull off a hat, and then once they take it off, it's just
they look weird. But I have a little bit of envy, not a lot because it's not a big deal in my life, but a little bit of envy for people who can wear a hat with confidence. I never feel, even with just like a cap.
Really?
Yeah, I can't do it. Hey, like I feel it's not my thing. So I don't do it. You will hardly ever see me in a hat, ever. I think there are like 3 pictures in the whole universe of me in a hat.
Sure.
It's probably a good thing. So someone says here, Ricky says today is a very big day in South Africa. Why?
Does this have to do with government?
It does have to do with government. Ricky has high hopes today for a government of national unity. And I'll just give you what I know, because then you won't bug me for the rest of the show. So all I know is that the IFP had a press conference 2 days ago, and they announced that they are part of the government of national unity.
Yes, they did.
They pretty much said they're in talks with the ANC, the DA, the NFP in KZN, so that they can take government of KZN away from MK, which is a big deal. And they admit something else, which I thought was fascinating. They said they organized a meeting with MK. They waited for 2 hours. MK didn't pitch. Then, just before 2 hours was up, someone phoned and said, no, we're coming. So, Hlengwa, who's the guy we had on our show not so long ago, he waited another 2 hours and they didn't pitch.
Guys,
so
definition of ghosting.
Like this, but this is not a serious bunch of people. I mean, I know they got 14% of the vote, but that still, there could be at least 14% of the country is really stupid. So I'm willing to accept that this is not a serious party. I don't think they should be taken seriously. If the IFP waited for essentially 4 hours and they never arrived, when they said they were going to arrive, and phoned in the middle of that delay of 4 hours and said, no, we're still coming, and they didn't pitch. Like if someone did that to me, and I'm not special, right? I'm not like a king or a pope or a president. I'm not busy deciding the future of a country here. Like, what did they have that was more important? Did the screen of Duduzile's phone crack? Because she seems to run the whole fucking party from that thing. Like, what could be more important than meeting with the people who you're going to run KZN with? So I don't think these people care about KZN just based on their actions of not even pitching for a meeting. Because if it was them and the IFP, I think they've got enough, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
to have majority.
So they're not serious. They don't want to govern. This is just a retirement plan for Ubaba and all the people who are around him, attached to him, his network of patronage, to get into the coffers of government. That's clearly what's going on here. I don't think that that's an unkind thing to say. And anyone who wants to defend them, you go ahead. But I do not think that these are serious people. If you don't pitch for me for 15 minutes, then I'm going to be phoning you saying, hey, are you still coming? An hour, I've written you off. 4 hours. I'm like, I never want to see you again. Ever. I'll never wait for 4 hours for anybody. Nobody.
That's disrespect at its peak. But also, like, just seeing how they have been the biggest winners in this entire thing, and they're acting like a bunch of losers. They're acting like they didn't get votes. They're acting like things didn't go their way.
No,
and
exactly.
It's like, I don't understand why we're behaving like this. Why are you guys acting like this? You guys really do have the power to change things. And they're just like, well, we're not going to pitch up. We're not going to pitch up to Parliament.
That is such
we're not
a
going to
good
pitch
point.
up to this.
It's like,
we're not going to do this.
It's like you don't know how to win. It's like you're so used to being losers and you're so used to being victims that you don't know that it's possible. And when winning comes your way, like 14% is not bad. The
Especially
EFF,
for the first time.
You're the third biggest party in the country. Out of nowhere. A couple of months. Guys, learn to win and learn to manage yourselves. I mean, the inside track here, and I don't expect you to spoil any like stories while they're still going on, or if you're still trying to talk to people. I don't want you to get into trouble. But one of the things we wanted to do when we started The Real Network is we were pushing really hard to get an interview with Waris and PH and Jacob Zuma.
Yes.
And we knew he was the most interesting politician in the country, even while other people were throwing him aside, casting shade, dismissing him. We said, no, we'd like to talk to him. Did they give us the runaround? And we had weeks. That was in the beginning of March. And we started talking to them in February already. Not one thing materialized. Eventually, we had to settle for Duduzile. She was a great interview, and I think it went really well. And the numbers on there are impressive. People obviously enjoyed it. But the fact that they couldn't land us this interview, I mean, Waris had to go to the house 3 times.
Yes, we've even met him, but like
everything.
It just
didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So I guess we didn't. Fortunately, I guess for us, we didn't have to wait for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, and I
clearly,
guess this is a pattern of theirs. They say one thing and then they do something
people
else.
People who have disorganized, untidy houses are untidy, disorganized people. People who, I don't buy that shit that people who have a desk full of papers and stuff, that they are the people who really get things done. You want things done? Ask a busy person. You want things sorted out? Ask an organized person. If someone is surrounded by chaos, they have a chaotic mind. You can't work with people like that. They change their mind like that. They're unstable. They probably have a mental illness of some kind. And you can't be friends with people like that. Certainly can't work with them. They're going to steal your stuff.
Or things slip through the cracks.
Things slip through the cracks.
There's a lot of those things that tend to slip after some time. And then there's a river.
Bitcoin Boot says, Gareth, did you want to interview Zuma? I've met him a couple of times, and I do find him fascinating, and I don't think you should underestimate the man. But I think he's also very old now. He's 82. I think he's being stage managed. He doesn't look as well as he has before, especially on the night the election results were announced. They were showing visuals of him, and he looked bad. He looked old. He looked tired. He looked sick. I'm not saying that that's true, that that's like he's on his way to the grave or anything, but I think the best of him is spent, and the guy's had a tough time. I mean, you can acknowledge he's not a great guy, and his story will be written in South Africa's story as being a particularly odious one. But you can still have sympathy for someone, even if they did bad things. Like, you can look at somebody and say, and we discussed this with Kevin Spacey on Wednesday, like, you can look at Jacob Zuma and say this guy's been through the ringer. I mean, everything they could throw him at it, they threw at him. Mm-hmm. And I've said repeatedly on this show, he is a scapegoat for so many other people who got off scot-free.
Yes.
And he's a useful person to blame, right? Because you blame him and then all the other crooks can hide. And they are. We know that they are. So I would interview him. I've met him, as I said a few times. He's always been extremely charming. He is. People love him. When they meet him, they always say, what an absolutely amazing guy. You know, he talks to you like a friend. His body language is friendly. He's not aggressive. He's kind. He's got a sense of humor. All of those things are true. That doesn't necessarily make him a villain or a hero. But I introduced him at the opening of the Mandela Center of Remembrance at the Nelson Mandela Foundation once. And he's amiable. I mean, you can joke about him in front of him and he laughs, you know? So I don't know if I need to get closer than that. I think I'm happy with what we've had. I'm happy with the country having had the experience of him that we've had. I don't think we need to repeat that necessarily. I'm not saying he is better or worse than Cyril, because Cyril's a bit of a disaster.
You mean Cupcake? I don't address him by his name anymore.
Cupcake.
Cupcake. And that says a lot.
Yeah. True, Zuma was a useful idiot to the bigger crooks. Yeah. And he's not an idiot. I mean, like, people think he's stupid, right? Because they play these clips of him with numbers and shit. But the guy is politically very, very astute. Even now, I'd say he's got a better grip on. Look, he, by sheer force of personality, don't tell me it was because they were campaigning hard or they had good posters or anything else. That was all pure Jacob Zuma reputation.
Yes. I don't even think they have a manifesto.
They don't have plans. They don't have they can't come to meetings. The rest of that party is a disaster. Everything they got because Jacob Zuma is a personality of immense impact in South Africa. So, you know, don't give me like, oh, we need MK. MK is an important force. No, Jacob Zuma is an important force. If he'd called his party the something, you know, like when he talks to that journalist, the political something, they would have still voted for him. Yeah. So I love this. I mean, you got all these journalists who are like trying to figure out what's happened and blah, blah, blah. That is enough politics, though, for this morning. It is Friday, and we're not going to go into too much of that. I do want you to see just quickly our Nyope mayor in Johannesburg.
What did he do now?
Show them the picture of him.
Now?
Well, okay, so they fired the mayor in eThekwini, but here's our mayor of Joburg. Look at him. Doesn't that look like someone who's like, hey, dude, where can I get a bag? Right? Doesn't he?
Oh, he looks like those guys. No offense. The
No
guys
offense. You can say offense. Because what's happened to the city you live in?
The guys with the robots that are about to like either ask to wash your car or like for bread. He looks like he's gonna come and approach you and just ask for something. And you just like, "Angnamal, sorry."
And if you don't talk to him, he's gonna get like aggressive.
Yeah, like he just looks like he's. I don't know. He doesn't look like a mayor. He doesn't look like someone I'll take seriously. Whatever he says, he just looks like even just looks wasted. Like, and I mean wasted in terms of he's done as a person.
Well, he better watch out because the ANC recalled the mayor of eThekwini, who's been useless as well, Kowenda, and they look like they might be recalling this guy today as well. So, you know what? Exciting times. Politics, it's all happening today. Parliament will be assembled for the first time and they will vote for a president. And that president has to be inaugurated. And then the work of Parliament really begins. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Bitcoin Bit says I just want to apologize for if I upset you with my Gayton and PA colored only vote yesterday upset me. I don't even remember it. So no, you didn't upset me. Please don't worry about my feelings. Those which I have, I can last recall from the 90s. And since then, not really. So please don't worry about my feelings. I don't. Mapelo says, to me, he looks like a subsistence farmer who takes himself very seriously.
That's not what we need for a mayor, though.
Yeah, there's some cuck people being fired. JP, you're quite right. You love to see it. Everybody loves to see it. It's good. We don't want shitty people. It's like if you work for a shitty boss, you work for a really mean, nasty, shitty boss who doesn't know what they're doing. When they get fired by their boss, you go, yes. Right?
Yeah, you just like,
yeah, of course.
Drinks on me, guys.
Right.
I'm kidding. First round.
when someone in the family gets put in their place at like the Christmas lunch, everybody goes, yes. It's about that. We don't lie. And we've got so many crappy, incompetent, mediocre people in positions of power all over this country. In fact, in the world, it's not just South Africa. That when we see them getting knocked down, we're like, yes. So let's enjoy it while it happens. Please. There's no need for us to worry about these people. I mean, is anybody concerned that Hlaudi Motsoeneng has no money anymore? No, because he deserved never to have money. Some people are never going to get money. Carl says, Gareth, another nice jacket. Have you befriended a homosexual who's helping you getting dressed in the morning? No, I have nice clothes. All right. I don't get dressed up every day. I don't have to. I don't sit in meetings and wear a tie. But thank you. I mean, I love the fact that I couldn't possibly dress myself. I have to have like some gay guy sitting hidden away going, let me help you. Let me tell you what to wear. Yeah. Because I dress so badly, huh? Thanks. Son of a bitch. Thank you. And someone called it the Thabo Bester.
Yeah.
Does he have one of these?
Yes, because when he did his monologue.
Did you hear he asked for the death penalty, hey?
And people are like, yeah, let's sign, guys. Where's the petition?
Yeah. I love South Africa. The guy's like, this is a cry for help. He's like, I'm so broken. Just give me the death penalty. He says to the judge, he says to the judge, please, I've had enough. This is torture. Just give me the death penalty. And South Africa Online is like,
let's go. Let's sign. Where do I sign out?
Horrible people.
Don't do that, guys. Don't ever, don't ever put anything about distress out there to the media. About you saying, if you think I'm guilty, then sign this. People will sign. Whether you're innocent or not, people will sign. People will be like, oh, okay, this is my sign to just play my part and make sure someone either gets or someone gets put away in jail. So
Claudine is woken up with a big spring in her step this morning. I love this. She says, I feel it's time to build, grow, and create jobs or teach people to create. It's time. All the folks doing bad and corrupt things breaking down. Yeah, Claudine. She should be in the parliamentary cheerleading team. Imagine if she walked down there with pom-poms. She was like, PARLIAMENT.
Go South Africa.
That's great. And Basitsana brings up an interesting story in the news this morning. I saw this last night, actually. Apparently, MultiChoice are insolvent, technically insolvent.
4.1 billion.
4.1 billion rand they lost in 1 year. I mean,
imagine.
Okay, I wonder how that happened. Seriously, like, let's just look at this. Okay, so they're part of a stable. Naspers is their big funder, and Naspers has WeChat in China and a number of other massive investments. It's a hugely profitable company. They've done very well. Their biggest albatross is MultiChoice.
Yes.
And part of the reason MultiChoice has failed, and I know a little bit about it because 6-8 years ago, I was still on their most successful show. We were selling advertising like hotcakes. It was a major success. They were doing well. Seems they hired a lot of really shitty people to run things, and they did a lot of window dressing. And they did a lot of DEI. And, they say go woke, go broke. Well, I think that's happened too. Also, wasn't that the company that was making a big fuss about how they were empowering black people in South Africa by giving them shares, but they still made the black people buy the shares. You're like, I always thought that was a big scam, but you know what? I don't know. All I know is I'm looking at the balance sheet now, and I'm saying, oh, good, this couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. So there we go. Multi-choice flailing. And also, apparently, the CEO is married to Gwede's daughter. So there's another reason that they'll probably be failing. You know what?
They should have led with that. Then we were going to be like, we understand, we know.
Yep. There are a bunch of sayings that are coming to my head right now that wouldn't it be appropriate for me to say. But I don't know. I remember that company like trying to fire me from their TV show, me beating them in court, and them having to pay. And maybe that's the reason they broke.
Hey, man.
They had to paying those lawyers still. But, there's like a huge amount of arrogance in those big corporations in South Africa. It's not just MultiChoice. It's a whole lot of these corporations, the big insurance companies. There are lots of people who in South Africa, they walk this talk, and you can see it with tenderpreneurs, but they're the obvious ones, right? Also, there are lots of people who've been in corporate South Africa for 30 years. They've had jobs, made jobs, done all kinds of things. Some of the stuff they've done has been good. I don't doubt that for a second, but you can see there's this swagger. It's like, I'm untouchable. I know how things work.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are getting their asses handed to them because things change and they don't.
Yes.
And then they fall under the train. So too bad, guys. You know what? You clearly didn't understand media the way that you thought you did. But good luck. I don't want to see anybody fail. I don't want to see anyone lose their jobs. I want this country to be successful. But if you're going to make bad decisions, bad things will happen, and you will deserve them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the latest news on MultiChoice. Also interesting. Ruth says, for the first time, Pick n Pay has become technically insolvent. Total liabilities exceed total assets by 183 million. Even more concerning is that its interest-bearing debt rose by 5.7 billion. What you've also got to remember is that we're in a country at the moment where a lot of people just do not have money.
Yes.
The debts that most people owe are greater than all of their assets.
Yes.
Which means technically, as a country, we're insolvent.
Yes.
Not just because the government has spent more than it can, and we are currently unsustainable on that front, but also because people do that. People live beyond their means.
Yes.
They're living on credit cards. They're living on all sorts of stuff. So you've got to be aware of that stuff.
Yeah, but it's also because they're not earning enough. I mean, inflation is at an all-time high. Things keep going up and up and up and up and up. And let's not forget that you need 45,000 Rand in South Africa just to survive. And a lot of people ain't earning that. So that plays a part. But it's not just going to be Pick n Pay that's going to be feeling it. There has been like a report that's come out that more and more people are not paying their debts. So there's going to be more companies actually coming out to say...
Well, you know how you can tell? Try and get a loan from the bank.
Yeah.
You try and get a loan from the bank now. If you try and get a home loan, a car loan, any kind of loan, they check you out and they're like, oh, sorry, no, we can't. You're like, but I'm not like underwater. They're like, no, sorry, we can't help you.
So
they do this. They go and ask your bank. Just say to them, like next time you speak to anyone at the bank, like, how's it going? How's South Africa's economy looking from your side? That's what they'll do.
Yep.
Common Sense says apparently Westpac Lifestyle is also under business rescue. Yeah. Please, not them. And I'm with that Don Kidder in the comments. I love that shop. I love that shop, right?
Yes, we all do. Oh
my God, I love going there. I buy containers. I don't even have things to put in the containers. Yes. I just love having them.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like,
okay, so if I ever go bankrupt, you will find me at Westpac because that's where they'll arrest me. You'll find me there. I will have bought a whole bunch of like things with screw-on lids and things with compartments that you put shit in.
And it's all matching. That's what I love about it. So it's all like, I can buy this color
and it's
in this
cheap.
size.
It's not expensive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So how can they be in trouble? Again, disorganized people. If you were all more organized, they'd still be in business. Well, they are still in business, but There's a difference between business rescue and going out of business.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Carl, bringing up the most important thing for this morning, says, I watched Ben's first sports show yesterday. It was great. Yeah, Ben and Sandile did their first ever sports show on the Real Network. It premiered yesterday afternoon to wild applause, and it was already charting when I went to sleep last night. I saw it was on the Apple Sport podcast chart, making its way all the way to the top. So keep an eye on that show. It's going to go places, and lots of very, very cool things planned in the next few months. We'll get to Ben.
Mm-hmm.
He has some sport for us in a short while. We've got a lot to get to, so maybe we should just look at one or two things in the news quickly.
Yes.
A man called Chris Wyatt suffered a broken neck, fractured spine, and other injuries. Do you know how?
How?
He tripped over his cat.
Oh, wow.
Now, he was alone in his house. He was, well, like most cat people are, and was unable to get up for 14 hours. You know, most cat people, no one will visit you in 14 hours. Probably 14's the low end of how many hours you have to spend on your own if you're a cat person. Just saying. And Raleigh fell at 10:30 p.m. on Sunday night. Wasn't found by his... Oh, he has a wife. Sorry.
Talking about
But how could she not find him until Monday afternoon?
Whoa.
That's the more interesting story.
This happened during the week. She was gone for 14 hours.
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
10:30 he falls over the cat. And again, no one's reporting on how the cat is. His wife only finds out until Monday afternoon.
Where was she? Where did she sleep?
She called emergency service. That's where. Yeah, where's your wife? You see, this is the problem when these stories end up in the news. People have more questions than we deserve answers
not
for.
adding up. Like, where was she?
Shame.
Where did she sleep? Like, what kind of marriage is this?
Let's just head back to this poor man. He had a broken neck. He fractured his spine, and he had other injuries too. He's expected to take 6 to 12 months to recover. Despite the seriousness of his injuries, he does not blame his cat for the accident.
Yeah, blame your wife. Where was she?
Honey, are you not home? Oh, man. That's unbelievable. You think that's bad? I once got tripped up by some pussy, cost me a house, says Carl. Yeah, but you didn't hurt yourself. She's guilty, says Linda. Yo, people climb right on, hey? Was the cat on the roof, says Ricky. There's an old joke about that. The wife was searching for her glasses. Oh, you people are mean. Anyway, if I once thought about this, right? Like, if I die, how long will it take? And that's one of the reasons we do this show. The maximum amount of time it'll take is between shows. So I'll probably be okay. All right. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. But this is so embarrassing, right? It's like when 9/11 happened, which was obviously a horrible, horrible event. And, thousands of people died. But there are all those stories about people who thought women who thought their husbands were in the World Trade Center when the plane crashed in, frantically phoning, trying to find them. Meanwhile, they're having an affair. They were at some other woman's house. And they're like, oh, no, don't worry, honey, I'm safe.
How?
Yeah, how? You were on the 92nd floor, John. Listen, when shit like this happens, you gotta make sure you got an alibi. All right? You don't know. And that, I often think, like, these people who are busy with like a side chick or whatever, and they're driving around late at night, and you could have an accident, right?
Yes.
And then people are going to go, why were you driving around on a Wednesday night at like 1:30? Booty call. But they're going to have to, someone's going to find out. They're going to be, why is this guy 40 kilometers from home on a Wednesday? Right? Nobody thinks about that. You think, I'll just go get it. I'll just make a booty call quickly. I'll just go down the road here. But it's not down the road. It's 40 Ks away. It's a different city. And then something terrible happens on the way. Everybody's like, wonder why he was driving there. And then someone starts asking the right questions. You know how it goes.
And then we all just like,
yeah.
Because we don't want to say nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Shame. The guy says he's lucky to be alive after his cat crash injury. A cat
Yeah, but
crash.
I'm more interested in the wife. Like, where, wifey, where were you? Like, what were
Yeah.
you doing? Serious questions. Where were you? What were you
I'm
doing?
sorry, I don't
14
know.
hours.
I'm sorry I don't have any
Did
answers.
you not call brother? Like, also, I can understand. Maybe you were out with the girls. I don't know. You got too drunk, but you don't
Until
ever.
Monday afternoon.
But wait, did you not call at any point to be like,
What
yo,
kind
babe?
of girls are you out with? What? All your friends strippers? You're out until Monday afternoon. Even strippers take Sunday night off.
I'm just asking. I'm just saying, like, at no point did she try to communicate with her man.
No. Tonight we go out properly. We only get home Monday afternoon, 3:00. All right, Ivanka, I'll meet you outside. Are we taking your car? Yes, drop top. Wow.
No, this wife needs to be investigated. I'm sorry. She's the cause of the
There's serious
fall.
problems in that marriage.
Like,
I don't think that's going to be an easy one to get past for her. She's like, 911, we have an emergency. Yes, ma'am. What is it? Well, my husband seems to have fallen. I don't know what, because the cat's run off by then, right?
yeah.
I don't know what could have happened. How long do you think he's been there? Oh, I don't know. Like, well, when last did you see him upright? Saturday?
Where were you? You're a married woman. Where were you? Aren't you supposed to be indoors? Guys.
So here's a better way to treat animals that get in your way. A remote Australian community has taken revenge on a massive saltwater crocodile. Apparently, the beast was devouring pets and chasing children. It would come out of the water and it would just chase these people in Australia. There was this town that was ravaged by this animal, and it would just make an absolute nuisance and menace of itself. It probably took a child or two, who knows? But these poor Australians, you imagine them. I don't know, will we get a sleep well tonight or not? But I hope we'll get a couple of hours of shut-eye without that fucking crocodile coming up out of the water, trying to eat our children. Fucking Jack Russell went missing last week. I don't know where the Jack Russell is now, but I think it's our fucking crocodile. Anyway, these Australians eventually took their revenge. Do you know how?
How?
They ate it. They cooked it and ate it.
Well, apparently crocodile tastes like chicken, so
I can tell you it does not. So on Wednesday,
I'd give it
the
a try.
police in the town of Bulla in Australia's Northern Territory shot the crocodile after deeming it a significant risk to the community. Of course, they had to get health and safety's permission. They were like calling for 6 weeks. Can you imagine? Hello? Yeah, it's the mayor of Bulla. No, it's still the fucking crocodile. Do we have permission to shoot it yet? I'm sorry, sir. We've got to check with the health and safety department, and I'm just a little worried. You know, we've got very strict rules about the environment, and everything's about sustainability now. We don't want you just shooting crocs. We've got to check with the mayor of every other surrounding town. Maybe they'd be prepared to take the croc in. All right. Well, you let me know. No problem, sir. We'll get back to you. And of course, government takes a long time, right? So no call. They lose another child, another Jack Russell. Eventually, they're like, we're going to shoot this thing. So they do. Northern Territory police were called in, obviously. Someone heard a shot, and they're like, oh, we haven't had a shot in Australia since the 1800s. What's happening? So they arrived. They said the predator had been stalking and lunging out of the water at children and adults and had reportedly taken multiple community dogs.
Multiple community dogs.
Yes. There were a lot of dogs that were in the community that were not in the community and were in the stomach of the crocodile. It was prepared for a feast in the traditional manner. So I'm assuming these might have been Aborigines. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but native Australians, if you'd like me to be more politically correct. So they called the local children. All the children gathered together. Yay! They shot the crocodile in front of the children. Children were like, yay! And then they gave it a nice braai.
Yay!
They barbecued it. And then the kids got to taste crocodile. You've never had crocodile?
No, but I've heard it tastes like chicken.
Does
But
not.
every now and again, you've got to let the crocodile know. You know, you can't just sit back. You've got to bribe one every now and again. Maybe there should be an annual thing to mark this day to honor those community dogs.
So what? Crocodile Day?
Yeah, they should just go find the biggest fucking croc where they can find one. And then that is like how you keep the balance.
This one came to them and was pestering them. So I don't blame them.
Because none of his mates were getting bride, Gareth. You got to keep a balance in this.
Well, they also turned every part of the croc into something edible, including making a crocodile tail soup.
Who got the shoes in the bag?
Don't know. Probably the mayor's wife.
Nice.
I'm not sure. But anyway, a few of the pieces were wrapped in banana leaves and cooked underground in the traditional manner. It was a rather large traditional feast. There were a few full bellies, said Sergeant McBride of the Australian Northern Territory Police. So everything was good at the end.
And what a community builder, right?
I agree.
I mean, these people got out of their houses. They probably put shoes on for the occasion, and everyone had fun.
Everyone wins.
And the crocodile, sure, you don't want to be the guy who slaughters animals, but this is like harmony, right?
I think so. Sometimes, as you say, Ben, you got to put them in their place. Having eaten crocodile once, I can tell you it is revolting.
Oh.
It is not.
Where did you have it, though? Did you have it in like a place that might know what to do with a crocodile?
Was it in a stew?
It's
was
like,
it one of those bachelor parties in Brits?
No, I'm willing to accept. Ben, I haven't been to a bachelor's party in Brits. What the fuck is wrong with you?
You were social in your 20s, such like I was.
I did have it in my 20s. All I remember is it tasted to me, and maybe it was prepared badly. I'm willing to accept that someone somewhere in the world has figured out a way to cook crocodile beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe these
people that have to eat them have to kill them.
So
the Gordon Ramsay of that rural hamlet over there probably does a good job.
I didn't like it. It tasted to me like oily fish.
Yeah, that's how it kind of works out because ultimately it's chicken that lives in the water, right? So it's going to be a bit oily and
oily fish. Not good.
That doesn't sound yummy.
Sam had a crocodile pie once. It tasted like feet. That can't be good.
It's like one of those things. Like there's enough good food out there.
Yeah, you done. Yeah. I also, contrary to what Ben's saying, I have a hard and fast rule. I do not eat things that can eat me.
Also that.
Because I respect the food pyramid. You remember they taught you about the food pyramid?
Mm-hmm.
That the small crusty things at the bottom get eaten by the bigger crusty things, and those things get eaten by the small mammals and the reptiles, and then those get eaten by the bigger mammals and the bigger reptiles. And so you go up. If something like a crocodile, which has basically been here since before we were. It's been here for like millions of years, as opposed to our couple of 100,000. And if you get in the jaws of that thing, it's just doing what a crocodile does. But you disrespect the food chain. It's like a sin against nature. If you eat the croc instead of having the croc eat you, and something will eat you, that's what will take. Don't. I can't prove it. I haven't tested this under laboratory conditions. I think if you eat something that could eat you, you will eventually be eaten. It's like a karma of the eating.
Look, I also think...
you don't eat lion. You don't eat...
Yeah, but we
shouldn't eat shark.
There's something about... I always think, like, is our DNA inclined to know what to do with that kind of food as well? Because we've never had crocodile really in our system.
And technically, these people are also eating those community dogs.
Yeah, but that's more commonplace.
They had Johnny in their system.
Yeah. A couple of dingoes.
Yeah, heartwarming story for a Friday.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
You know, we like to bring a bunch of different feelings.
This is better than the wife that left her husband to die.
Yeah, this is what I like about Fridays. I get to like mid-story with you guys. And, well, I feel like I'm right a part of it already.
Listen, well done on the first sports show yesterday.
Thank
We've
you very
already
much.
had a couple of comments come in from people who watched it yesterday and loved it. I see it's already charting, which is terrific.
Nice. I'm so excited to have something in my life right now that I'm excited about most things in my life because by design I live a good life. But this thing in particular, this show, and what we can do with this, and as a weekly concern, wow, it's great.
That's very good.
It's really, really great.
Well, you're going to have so much winning. You're going to wish that you could just stop winning. It's going to be great.
Winners
tremendous.
Winners never want to stop winning.
It's going to be a year of winning. I'm going to win in November. I'm going to win. I'm telling you, I'm going to win. I got winning coming. It's going to be amazing. We're going to do all the winning. All right.
You're doing great, Ben.
Make South Africa great again. Get Simphiwe one of those hats. All right. Have you got one?
No.
Oh, I must give you one.
Thank you. I would love that.
Make South Africa great again hats. You can find them. We will put a link up.
Make crocodile's food again.
No crocodile food on the show anymore. We've had enough of that. All right, Ben, take us into the world of sports.
Yes.
Why don't you? So here it is. Friday morning, this is the best time for you to get ahead of the game in all the different games. We're going to talk a little bit about T20 cricket, I assume.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Euro, because there was some of that noise on my TV yesterday about the Euro. I watched your sports show, so I found out about URC and US Open. So let's get into it. It's Beyond the Scoreboard with Ben Karpinski. It's powered by Superbets.
All right, let's start with the T20 cricket because you brought it up. Because it sees the Proteas taking on the might of Nepal.
Oh,
so if you're one of those Proteas fans that watches every single game, well, 1:30 a.m. Saturday morning, South Africa will be playing against Nepal.
Bunch of Sherpas.
Sure.
Well, that's what I thought, but these are the sort of lower altitude Nepalese, okay? Because obviously you're not playing cricket too high up.
No, because
so
you'd pass out.
I mean, this, you know what? Like Uganda's been in this tournament and they've been dicked every single match.
Shame.
There's been a Papua New Guinea, but the T20 cricket should have that. You know, it's like cricket, of course, is only run by 3 teams with a couple of other handful sprinklings here and there who do well,
and they are India,
Australia, and England. So they essentially own cricket, but then it filters down a bit. And this T20 World Cup's been cool like that, you know. Obviously, Canada and America there because that's the way it's being hosted.
Afghanistan, you know.
Afghanistan.
God bless that country.
Afghanistan are pretty good.
They've got nothing going for them. I mean, that must be, for the people of Afghanistan, that's like driving past our mayor of Johannesburg, the Nyaope mayor, under a bridge. And all he wants is just something to eat, and you give him Nyaope.
But
look at him. I mean, he'd be thrilled.
But somehow they're like...
Look at that guy.
But it's true, Afghanistan, okay? Now, I mean,
I'm thinking someone like that should be fed to a crocodile, but that's just me.
I mean, are they bowling opium poppies? And
yeah, for sure.
They to clear some fields. And Biden didn't leave them a bowling machine when they evacuated.
No.
So it's not like the recent years they've got any better.
No.
But these folks are determined, right? And this is a cool thing about sport always. So that's where
really it's the only thing that we've ever really you're allowed to actually root for Afghanistan in is the cricket.
Yes.
Because everything else they've done, they're pretty much the bad guys.
And I'm pretty sure that these guys are nice guys. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Sure.
Because they play cricket, so they've got a spirit and, they've been doing all right. In their group, actually, and this is where I think it gets quite interesting, is that New Zealand, who have been very good in the last few years, because, I know they've got 20 cricketers, but they all get along and they'll get picked for the same team, and it's always the same guys. But they're out. They're in Group C.
They call them the Black Ferns. What do they call them?
Black Caps.
Black Caps.
Yeah. Some of those national teams have very funny black sort of names.
Oh, Black Caps. Did you see that video, just by the way, while we're talking about New Zealand, about the deaf New Zealand rugby team?
When they do the haka.
It was hilarious.
Yeah,
doing the haka.
I've already seen too many hakas, and now the deaf folks are having a crack too.
You have to watch it.
You saw it. Now, Simphiwe,
I mean,
that is good entertainment. You need to watch that video. You need to.
Are you guys laughing like this?
She's loving it.
They're just deaf folks having a haka. I mean, the haka's mostly
I don't know
anyway.
what that was, but there was no haka.
Wow.
There was men moving.
She's very politically correct, Simphiwe. Yeah. Basically, we've pissed off the entire Antipodean world.
That hemisphere, that's it.
Australia and New Zealand are never going to watch this show again.
Well, I mean, they've got plenty of time, seeing as after this group stages, they're not going to be in the Super 8. So New Zealand are actually bottom of the group. They're actually below Papua New Guinea right now.
How embarrassing.
Yeah. Look, these teams can't always be at the top, but of course, because they haven't got all that depth, when their plan A doesn't work out, it's kind of like their rugby.
Yeah,
in the next few years, when their plan doesn't work out.
It's also because that country is run by Jacinda Ardern.
Not anymore. She was put out to stable.
Yes, she was, but she did run it for long enough, and now we're seeing the after effects of. See, if you let a communist run anything, they ruin it, and that's just proof right there. So even a great cricket team can be ruined by communists.
Afghanistan are currently top of Group C with West Indies. So West Indies are playing at home right now, and I think those two, you would have thought New Zealand and Afghanistan would have gone through, but no, Afghanistan, West Indies, those are the two who are going to go through there. Amazing. Now, in our group, all we had to do was beat Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and just try not to embarrass ourselves against New Zealand. Netherlands. Job done. So now we get to play Nepal. Whether they have a full strength team, who really knows? If you are a Proteas fan, there'll be 10 people watching this, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah. Another group that's quite interesting is the Group A, which is India, USA, Pakistan, Canada, and Ireland. Now, Ireland have been decent in recent years. They're one of those associate kind of nations. They come through, but no, they're shit. They've bottom of the log, 0 points, but they are playing USA this weekend. That could be quite a good one, because if USA wins that, then they go through. I mean, obviously, I say USA, these aren't all of these oaks have come from England, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, West Indies. Like, it's another cool thing to watch is that you've got all these like mixed match nations coming into teams like Canada and India, but they're bringing cricket to that country, which is the most important thing. So yeah, and then another group B, Oz are going to go through. Scotland are going to hammer it out with England. So yeah, not a lot to report in the ICC T20 right now.
Okay.
Super 8 comes, that's when the big stories come, and that's when it gets really, really exciting. So the Euros, okay? Now the Euros are, well, many people might actually say they're as good as the World Cup without Argentina.
Okay.
Because all the best European teams are there. It's the World Cup kind of format. It's brilliant. No disrespect to African teams, but they don't exactly challenge for the trophy, and neither really do the Asians. The Japanese are plucky, and the Aussies come in every now and again with Croatians and green cards. So today, Germany versus Scotland. That'll be our first game. Germany, of course, being the home team. It's the big send-off.
And green cards. You just slip that in there.
Well, I mean, like, this is what Australia used to do back when they were, like, I don't know, ambitious. They would go, none of you blokes can play football. You want to play Aussie rules or crickets or dogs or whatever. And then they go, well, those Europeans over there, they got a shit life. Bring them in here. And then your entire team is like, dig a ditch, send a bitch, Philosophic. And then that's the Aussie team.
Oh, you were giving the surnames.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about what they did in their spare time.
No, because they're all basically from like those kind of countries.
Right.
Yeah. Go back in history. I promise you, I'm not making this up.
No, you're right.
All right. So Germany versus Scotland. Tony Kroos's big farewell. He had the farewell from Real Madrid. It's now going to be his national farewell. I don't know if that's going to be enough to really galvanize this team. It's not going to be their best German side that we've seen. Hungary versus Switzerland, that's tomorrow. And then we've got Spain versus Croatia tomorrow. Spain, of course, not the talents you might have thought. They're quite young. Croatia basically have that Luka Modric. And they try to play around him a bit. Italy, Albania tomorrow as well. And then Poland, Netherlands, Slovenia, Denmark, and Serbia, England. Now, I'm finishing off with England there because they're actually tournament favorites.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look, on paper, this is the thing. Like, England are kind of like the Proteas when it comes to that. There's always so much hope, and then they get into these tournaments. They've never won the Euros, ever. And the last time they won the World Cup was, what, 1960?
I mean, English football fans get excited. They always think it's finally our... Well, hang on, I went Australian there for a second. Finally going to be our turn. Come on, England. Come on, England. And they always bugger it up.
They always bugger it up.
Always.
But, like, so... This is where I will back them up, right? They've had Gareth Southgate as the manager now for quite some time. He took a bunch of youngsters and he kind of brought them through. So if you go back to other greats in football like Sir Alex Ferguson, what he did was that he had a bunch of youngsters and he brought them through, okay? So there was continuity, there was momentum, there was belief, and there was the experience. So,
and he threw stuff at David Beckham.
And he did. So I don't know who Southgate's throwing stuff at. Maybe it's Jude Bellingham, maybe it's Harry Kane. Maybe he should throw something.
Yeah.
Again, let's not knock violence until we really have seen all the options.
Yeah.
So that's what your opening weekend of the Euros is going to be. Of course, if you go to Super Bets, you can still get pretty good odds on outright wins. Now, the great thing about betting on an outright win with them is that then you're invested. I mean, obviously, don't bet on Serbia or, Ukraine, because I don't think Ukraine have had a really great run into this tournament.
No, I mean, all their best men are on the fighting front.
Pretty much.
they really, I mean, these are like the guys who said, no, I've got a condition. I can't go to the front.
Yeah, or like Euros 24 coming up. They wouldn't.
Apparently it's so bad there at the moment that, like, if you are older than 16 and you just wondering, you go and buy a packet of smokes for your parents in Kiev, they just like load you in a car and take you to an army base.
Wow.
Oh, so I don't know where they got a team to play in the Euros, but
well,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like they do. So
they got an actor for a president, so who knows?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say bet on those teams, but I mean, maybe it is time for England. Maybe. I don't know. Like,
coming home.
France
it's coming home.
I mean, like, see, that's the thing. Maybe this is why they never win, because everybody outside of England hates these people, and there's all this like baggage karma that nobody wants them to raise a trophy.
Right.
They, of course, they were in the finals at last Euros. Remember the last Euros? It was just outside of lockdown, right? And everyone lost their minds. I just remember one of the funniest moments of sport was watching Djokovic at Wimbledon, all in white, pristine, civilized, wonderful performance. He gets the trophy. He goes to that little house.
Yeah.
And then they cut to the England fans. The one guy was snorting coke off some guy's crack. But it was like... people were like turning cars over.
Yeah.
They'd been in lockdown for these years. This was the first time they could go outside and be proper limeys.
Football hooligans.
And they did. And they just turned it upside down. And then people break into the stadium. And then ultimately, England lost on penalties. It was the most dramatic day of sport.
Yeah, you had people throwing themselves off the terraces.
Yeah. So this is the thing about European football and these kind of things. That even if you aren't into football and you're not the biggest football fan, there is so much hiss around all of this. So hosted in Germany, England are going to be your favorites. Don't discredit France. And Italy are defending champions. Again, no one's giving them a chance, but like, maybe that's the dark horse.
I would say this is one of those fun things where if you really hate England and that whole it's come in home thing, then you take a bet so that whatever happens, if they lose, you can take personal gratification in their misery. But if they win, you can have money.
That's very smart, Gareth. That is a real hot take. I think I'll have no more calls today on the show after that one.
Okay.
All right.
Gareth will then, we can cut that piece right there.
But if you do want to make a call, you can head along to Superbets, their website. You can find all the information. You can actually find it on the Real Network too. And don't forget that whatever you do there, if you were watching the sports show yesterday, there was a nice little bonus that they threw in. If you're
massive
a first time,
bonus, actually.
Massive bonus if you were watching the sports show. So
can we finish on that?
You might want to go and check out yesterday's sports show if you haven't seen it yet, just so that you can get in on the Superbets bonus.
Yeah, just use the promo code OTB. But we'll get
on the bounce.
We'll get to that in a sec. I just want to quickly throw in the golf and the rugby. So US Open week. It's at Pinehurst number 2. Now, Pinehurst number 2 is basically America's version of St. Andrews. Okay. It is the home of American golf. It is incredible.
You said if you never get to play at Augusta, which you've pretty much leveled, you've got to the point where you realized you're never going to play there. But this would be the next best.
So another thing about Augusta, it's like that Instagram model that you can't help but look at the pictures, but it's not actually that real. Augusta looks like that for a few weeks of the year. And a lot of the time it's just closed. And they just touch it up. And Augusta's it's like the Witbank of Georgia.
Oh, really?
It's not a great town. It's really a pretty shit place.
Oh.
But Pinehurst has 10 golf courses. It's its own village of golf and richness.
Wow.
Where is it? It's North Carolina.
Damn.
This place, go look at the aerial shots of this place. Wow. Okay. So Pinehurst number 2 is like the storied one. It's an incredible creation. It's beautiful. Like if you're a person who doesn't watch golf, you'll watch this and go, geez, this place is scruffy. Because it's fairway and then it's native sand grass area. So it's like the Cape Flats basically, which is quite cool having such a dangerous contrast because it's a dangerous tournament score-wise.
Okay.
You can lose your shit here very, very quickly. Patrick Cantley, on the other hand, well, he had a great round. Now, no one likes this oak. He's like the villain of golf, but there he is at the top. And Rory McIlroy, what a few weeks he's had. He basically kicked his chick into the curb, said, that's it, getting divorced.
Uh-huh.
This week, he's now reconciled. He's cancelled the divorce papers. He's remarried.
Oh.
And he's joined top of the leaderboard at -5.
Wow.
So is it McIlroy's turn? It's kind of like supporting England, just slightly nicer. The guy hasn't won a major in 10 years. I've got a horrible feeling that I've bet the wrong. So I put money on Scotty Scheffler because I think what he's doing right now is an amazing piece of work for golf. But he is now 6 back after round 1. He had a bit of a shaky start. McIlroy's -5. And I don't want to be one of those reactive kind of backers, but I think McIlroy is going to do it.
Okay.
It's either him or DeChambeau, because DeChambeau is just such an entertaining guy, so much confidence. I mean, he would have taken that crocodile in Australia by himself.
Right.
That guy's just living his life. He's so great. But also look at that for Ludwig Oberg. I mean, I know he's so young and inexperienced, but he's got great stats for that kind of golf course. I mean, look, in the past, we'd always say, and in the South African prospects, but let's be honest, we go into these majors nowadays, and there's not a single South African that we ever bet on. Christian Bezuidenhout, he's 7 back. He's our guy. He's our only guy that plays on the PGA Tour consistently.
Oh, no.
The rest of the Oaks are making big money.
It's the first time I've ever heard his name.
Yeah. Well, he's from Delmas, and he had rat poison as a child, so now he's got a speech impediment.
He's got a speech impediment?
Well, he had rat poison as a child by mistake.
By
mistake? Whoa. Wow.
I thought in Delmas that's what they fed people.
Story for another day. Okay, finally, we're going to finish off with the rugby. Now, Bulls supporters, don't hate me, but I think it's going to be an all-Irish URC final next weekend. Munster are taking on Glasgow. That'll be the first game. So
don't go to Pretoria this weekend.
Well, with that kind of attitude, no.
Oh.
So Munster taking on Glasgow. I think Munster, top seeds, defending champs, great side. They've peaked at the right time this season. They're going to just go over the Scots. And then Leinster, with the full-strength team, are going to come to Loftus. And the Bulls just don't have. I mean, last week was, for me, a great example. A dominant Bulls team in the past would have probably put 50 on a Benetton team. They won by 3 points. You've now got a full-strength Leinster team who didn't win the Investec Champions Cup. So they got no trophy this year. It's the Irish team, and Ireland's first game against South Africa will be at Loftus in July. So, sorry, I can't see anything outside of a full Irish URC final next weekend.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great sporting weekend. There's no F1. Not that I know of. Sorry, I lost interest towards the end there.
No,
but that's it. Bumper sporting weekend.
It's perfect. You can go and try out your luck on Super Bets, and if you like Ben's advice, some people have done very well on your advice over the last couple of weeks.
But we got a really great deposit bonus. So your first deposit will be matched to 5,000 rand.
Wow.
So you put down 5,000 above, you'll get 5,000 back.
Nice.
And then
just use the promo code OTB.
Just use the promo code OTB.
That's on the bounce, and check out.
You know what? I'm not going to tell the whole story about that. There's more. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah, we don't want to say any more now, otherwise we will sound like a very market.
Put your first deposit down, and I'll tell you what, that's not where the bonuses end.
Fantastic. So look, Simphiwe is back in it.
Yeah.
She gave up on that for a while.
5,000.
Remember, guys,
then you get another 5,000.
And remember, you're playing a bit of a long game here. Don't just suddenly go, I like the thought of that idea. $5,000, I'm putting it down, red or black. You play a bit with sports, This is the thing. Superbet's got so many cool markets.
Like your gran would say, don't spend it all at once.
Yeah, have a bit of fun with it. It's like just throw a bit here and there, so you can
Gives
really
you the
get engaged.
£5 pocket money, and it's don't spend it all at once. You're like, on what, a chappy?
Those are darker days.
Get for £5. Superbet supports responsible gambling, like your gran. Strictly no under 18s. Winners know when to stop. The South African Responsible Gambling Foundation's toll-free counselling hotline 0800 006 008. There you go. Comprehensive sport this morning with Ben. Plenty more. All right. We'll be back in just a moment. It's 7 o'clock. We'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we've got a whole bunch more for you.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Manuals will ultimately make you a better driver, especially those of you who are watching that are learning how to drive. This is the thing. And the reason being is you become more attentive of what the car is actually doing. In the sense that you're remembering that, okay, the car feels like this. The car is behaving like this. What am I actually doing? What is my speed and everything else in between? Whereas with automatics, it becomes more of, you're more of a passenger, you become more autonomous, especially with the way vehicles are going now.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
I don't drink.
Really, even the zero.
Because why am I drinking the zero? People who drink zero, why do they even drink it themselves? Because aren't you drinking to get drunk? So do you like beer that much that you drink it for the taste?
It's a fair question.
Imagine it came out. They came out with more reward, more action. Black Label Zero, now in stores. I think you have a problem. Black Label Zero.
No, man. You don't drink it for the taste, believe it or not.
No, you guys are injured.
Sure. Let me ask you, because,
Okay, good morning. It's Friday. We have so much to do, so many people to talk to, and so many places to go this Friday morning. I've also got a range of stuff that we promised we would get to. I hope we get to it all. So let's get going. We got Ben and Simphiwe here. Later on, we'll be joined by Colonel Chris Wyatt, who is no stranger to the show. He's been seen and heard in the comments section, among other places. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel, intelligence operative. He's got a particular interest in South Africa, and he has spent a lot of time here monitoring what's been going on. And we'll hear what he has to say about where we're at, because I think there could be some interesting observations. And it's always good to talk to him about all kinds of things. He ran for Congress in America. He got beaten soundly, but he's happy to talk about that too. So he's joining us a little later.
No bad reflection on him, though, because
No, he's cool.
Getting beaten in politics isn't always the worst thing.
And also in America, like American politics is so bad. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about things that Americans do on the internet that Simphiwe thinks weird. I mean, this could be the longest list in history.
It's not that long. I've not been to America, so these are the things I've seen on the internet and watched, and I'm just like,
of what they do in real life, or
yes,
what they do
life.
on the internet?
No, like in real life, like this is just them. Like this is how they live.
Right.
This is the things that they do, and I'm just like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. So the first one, the easiest one, is the drinking age is 21 and not 18. I find that weird. I'm like,
So weird.
why so
Well,
late?
The funny thing is that their driving age is still
16.
16. So,
But is that because they were rural people initially?
well, I don't know. It might have to do with the fact that gives you 4, 5, 6, 5, maybe 6 good years of driving on the law books where you shouldn't be drinking, right? Because you can only legally start drinking at 21.
Yeah.
So it gives you a couple of years where you're supposedly safe on the roads. That's the way they probably figure it. There are a lot of stupid rules in America.
No, 'cause
Lots.
I always think like there are dumb rules. Maybe this is a rule that stems from people like your kid would be more like useful on a farm if they could drive cars.
Maybe.
Like this middle states probably made these rules. It's
Don't know.
just-
Kind of weird. They wash everything in the kitchen sink. Like the baby will get washed in the
Oh my
sink.
God.
They'll wash their hair. They'll wash the dishes. Like it's just no, guys. There's
I've
a
noticed that
bathroom.
on
Really?
YouTube and stuff, but I don't think that's how civilized. I think that's like revolting internet
Maybe it's just the
influences.
place with the best light to film.
Yeah, I
But
think it.
the kitchen sink.
Yeah, they do use it for a lot of things. They also have something. They have things in their kitchen sink in most American houses called a garbage disposal.
Yes.
They've got this machine that grinds up shit.
Yeah.
It's like it's got teeth and stuff. So if you drop anything in there, or if you put your finger in and activate it by mistake, and some of them are
it's ticket for you.
automatic,
There's been many cheap horror movies that have used that as a massive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have that. Which I don't know a South African house. I've never seen a South African house that has that kind
No,
of
it's like
garbage.
a urinal. You don't see that when you go to someone's house.
Yeah. Although I still want one for my bathroom.
You know, I
Wouldn't you
saw
have
that.
one if you're a billionaire? Or
No,
not
I
even a
did.
billionaire?
I did. I saw that. And I was actually looking at properties a few months ago, and this one apartment had a urinal. I
Yeah.
thought, that's cool.
It is
But
cool.
then I also thought, like,
Okay.
if it's your urinal, you like the splash factor and all those things, it's a nice to have. I don't know if it's that functionally hygienic.
I sometimes just think it makes a lot of sense to
It saves water, perhaps.
saves water, takes up less space.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And, peeing.
but you still need the toilet though. Your urinal doesn't then
Can't
just
it
like
be on its own then? Like
Yeah, but
a
then-
separate room? Or
You need a room just for the
the
urinal.
urinal
like there's
room. I
some
mean, that would be
houses
alpha.
that just have the
That would
toilet.
be
I
pretty
mean, I
alpha.
think it would be pretty cool if you like said to your friends, "All right, ladies, the bathroom's there, and guys, the urinal room's there."
Yeah. It's
Put a
like how
flat
they
screen
separated
TV on
the
the wall.
toilet and then there's the
Yeah.
where you'll have your shower in another room, and so that
Yeah,
those two don't mix. You can have
maybe.
that.
The urinal lounge.
Yeah.
Tiles
don't-
on one
Just don't
side,
have it
copper
in-
on the other.
Like it would completely be horrible if you had it in your bedroom, though. Like against one of the walls in your bedroom, that would be gross.
yeah, that's a bit
Ew.
much.
I mean, that's prison. That's what you have in prison,
Yeah. Yeah.
all in one.
Ew.
Okay.
On to the next. How dirty their cars and houses get. They are
Yeah.
absolutely filthy. Like when they like, oh, come clean with me. There is things and clothes and toys
Mm.
everywhere. Like every inch of the house is covered in dirt, and I don't understand.
But it's also
how
those
it gets that
shows, those
dirty.
shows you're watching. It's like those hoarder shows and things. Those are the scum of humanity. They really are the most terrible people. And a lot of them have serious mental health conditions, right? Like
of course.
properly not well.
But now here's a question for both of you, which ties back to an old Friends episode when Ross met this really hot chick and they went back to her apartment, and it was disgraceful. It was just like dead everything. Let's say
I actually know a real life story like this. I know a girl. She's beautiful. Like she's really, really hot. And I thought, wow, she's gorgeous. And I was like, yeah, I was getting to know her a little bit. And a friend of mine said to me that she had been at her house and it was just a complete Armageddon clusterfuck. It looked like Afghanistan.
so. None of your other mates wanted to prove this.
No.
To her place.
No. So I don't know. It kind of put me off enough to think, yeah,
So,
maybe she's not that attractive. It affected the attractiveness.
Okay,
definitely.
So if you met a girl and then you went back and her place was like that, would you go home, or would you go, well, the train's already left the station on this one?
I know a guy who went to a girl's house with her after a party somewhere. She was very pretty and they were both into each other. And he got to her house and she had a Great Dane dog, but it had shat all over the house and the whole house smelt of dog shit.
Leave.
And he said he couldn't go through with it. He had to leave.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
But
right?
like same for you. Say, for
It's
example, you meet someone you
Just
think,
piles of
I'm
Great
very
Dane,
attracted to this person, but they live in a pigsty.
mountains.
You
of-
become just as unattractive as that
Yeah.
dirt. Like
Okay.
you
yeah.
are nasty.
Okay.
Like
Unanimous.
why?
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Mm.
Carl, what are your thoughts? I know you're going to come up with some story from your youth.
Run your legs short, Gareth, even if you don't like running.
Sure.
Okay.
On to the next one. They microwaving their water for tea. Weird.
Yeah, I hate that. I saw someone do it in an office once, and I said to them, "What are you doing? There's a kettle."
They don't use kettles. Like,
No, they do.
just-
They microwave things. Yeah.
They just microwave everything. And I'm like, this is not how we as humans are supposed to operate in this day and age.
That's so dumb because that doesn't overly heat your mug.
You're having lukewarm tea.
It's gross.
And
I don't even. The worst for me is when people have made their tea and their coffee. Like, let's say your kettle's not working and you microwave the water. Cool. But to microwave cold tea to make it hot again.
yeah.
Come on, what are you? A savage? What?
Just drink your tea.
Are you early man? That you need to. It's just disgusting. Like, make a new cup of tea. What's wrong with you?
Like,
Ugh.
just, yeah. Their spelling is absolutely atrocious. Like, I think they need to go back to school.
Well, they
Please learn how to
don't
spell.
even know how to say aluminium, let alone spell it. So they just go aluminum.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that's like rebellion against England. That's
Yeah.
what baseball started, because they were rebelling against cricket.
Yeah, but we need to get over
The way they
it.
spell color, COLOR. I don't
Yeah.
like that. And my spell check on my phone keeps making me feel like an American.
Yeah, and
hate
it
that.
annoys me so
I
much
say-
because I'm like, I
I
spelled
say
this right.
favorite. FAVOUR, and it corrects it to favorite.
Oh, yeah, or realize because we use S and not Z.
Yes.
It's just it
That's
irks
lazy.
me.
Lazy.
Irks like guys.
Bloody Americans. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, you know.
So far, your list this is good. We're fired up about this stuff.
Okay, they food portions. I'm sorry, guys, but it's absolutely unacceptable. Like, it's massive. This is why they're obese. Like, now I understand. Like, why is they medium and extra? Like, it's this big. It's a large.
It's a bucket.
So again, let's go back to the origin of this. Is that because fast food became so competitive that people had to find another thing to get people to them? So they
No,
had to just upsize.
No.
They are.
Because it doesn't make any
Consumers.
sense.
That is
Like,
gluttony.
It's
Mm-mm.
gluttony. Yeah, I think
Mm-mm.
because I went to TGI Fridays or whatever it's called in New York the first time I was there. I was just really hungry and I didn't know where else to go, and I kind of thought, well, this looks all right. And I ordered like a steak or something. They brought me a slab of meat that was so big it covered the whole plate, and then the chips were separate, and there was enough for 4 people. I was like, this is not necessary. Did I get my order wrong? The
That's
guy's
just
like,
bad
no,
for-
sir, that's what No, sir, that's what we serve people.
That's just bad for business on your margins, though.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm just like, we don't need all of that. You know, if you want people to be healthy, also portion sizes when it comes to food plays a big role. And it's not just the fast food restaurants. I mean, McDonald's here and McDonald's there is very different in terms of our large and they medium.
Well,
Very different.
Congo Chris says, interestingly enough, the color spelling difference is actually because newspapers had classifieds that charged by the letter. So some cheapskate said, well, I'll just spell it differently. What a cheap thing to come up with. Unbelievable. Right.
And last on the list, and this is something I've seen just particularly with the white people that side, is that they use their hands when they like take a shower instead of like using a washcloth or like something else.
Is this from the movies or from the
No,
internet?
like podcasts even where they openly talk about it. And it's kind of like we've seen a thing where they've gone around asking people. Seems to be a very Caucasian thing where like, I don't use a washcloth. Oh, why would I do that?
I do notice that the black guys at the gym have a face cloth, washcloth with them. The white guys don't. That I have noticed.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Well, no, I think that's a universal.
I think that's the thing. You just pointed out a racial difference.
I've got another.
Wait. What do you use for?
I've got another American thing I want to add on to that while we're at this.
Okay, cool.
Something that I've picked up, Simphiwe, in my time of assessing American society is that they steal each other's deliveries.
Yes.
Like those that people have like porch cams.
Yeah.
Because
I
everything
played
is
a video
delivered.
on Wednesday with Jack where a guy actually comes out of his house because some like drug addict is stealing the stuff off his porch, and he comes out with his he's got an M16 assault rifle.
That's the level it's
and
got
he comes
to.
out, and this guy's like, "I'm sorry, sir." He's put my fucking package back on the porch. Puts it back in the porch. I won't kill you, you motherfucker. And he runs. The guy runs away like this, just trying to get away from him. But yeah, it's a serious problem. People steal each other's shit when they put it out on the front door step. Big problem.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Put my shit back on this fucking porch. Yeah. I saw you when you got out the motherfucking car. You tried it. Put my shit back on this motherfucking porch. Sure. You gonna lost your motherfucking mind. You gonna come up on my shit and take my shit? You got it. You lucky. You got it. You lucky. You got it. Motherfucker. You see this motherfucker just trying?
But then why doesn't he take the package now? Udom. Like,
Yeah. I think they're actually doing it on purpose. All right, can I show you something cool? There's quite a few things here. So this is Leslie Nielsen. I mentioned he did this interview.
okay.
Leslie Nielsen, one of the greatest comedy actors
Ever.
Such a fun guy. Naked Gun, all of those movies. If you don't, you'll know who he is from the clip. Anyway, he did this very serious interview with a news journalist who keeps trying to ask him questions, but he's brought a fart machine into the interview with him. And he sits there and he pretends, and the interviewer doesn't know. He thinks it's real. and Leslie Nielsen's just not in the mood to be doing a serious interview. And eventually the guy kind of just starts laughing. So take a look at this. Here it is. Played the Leslie Nielsen interview. Here we
Well,
go.
it was the salmon. Sometimes you just get a wrong piece of salmon.
Is that you?
Well, I don't see anybody else in here who's going to be doing it. Excuse me. But you can show it. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. These things don't bother me.
All right, well then we'll start now, then we'll begin.
Did you hear the starter pistol? Keep your ears open.
All right, now we'll begin. Talking with Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
Plays the president.
Yes.
What's different about you and the real president?
Nothing, just maybe one or two things.
I don't think I'll ever get sick of fart jokes. And I think people who don't laugh at farts have got problems. It's always funny.
A guy like that can deliver the best fart joke.
For sure.
I think it gets a bit too gratuitous, my taste. But on Instagram, there's a variety of reels with just Leslie Nielsen's top moments throughout his movies.
Oh, he's great.
That joke was so funny.
So great.
So incredibly funny.
Yeah. Don Kidd is saying the interviewer is trying not to whiff the smell.
There's also that because you're waiting for the inevitable, right?
Yeah.
If someone keeps cracking the covers like that.
I love the way the guy keeps going, okay, let's start now. And then he farts. And it's like, okay, we'll begin now. He's like trying to be professional about it. He just doesn't know that Leslie Nielsen's there to take the piss. It's fantastic. All right. So, Ben, you wanted to talk in a kind of related story to Simphiwe, is the stuff that makes you truly happy on the internet.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the internet, we mostly just consume stuff which makes us unhappy because that's just how it works. I mean, there's been all these...
If you do, that's your fault.
But there's been all these like psychological trials and tests about the fact that smartphones are amazing, but they ultimately make you a bit sad.
Yes.
Not the people that makes you sad, obviously, people who just don't do anything other than look at other people's lives. So yes, that is your own fault. But I was always thinking, like, what is the thing? Because, I like to follow my friends or like people that I admire and stuff, but that's entertainment. It's not really like happiness. I don't look at this and go, wow, that's a real joyous piece of content. Is there anything on the internet that actually makes you, gives you genuine joy?
Yeah, I've spoken about it before. I love watching those pneumatic press things where they squash things. I mean, that's hilarious and it's fun and no one really gets hurt except a soft toy every now and then. But they don't crush animals or anything. So
no, just the Eastern European channels that they do.
Oh, it's the dirty dark web internet. So, yeah, that's the stuff where you get the really
there's
bad.
levels to every genre.
Yeah, sure, but I'm watching the PG stuff.
Yeah.
And I love watching stuff getting destroyed by a pneumatic press. I find that very, very therapeutic.
Wow.
Makes me laugh. And then I go down the rabbit hole, as I did last night, of kind of funny videos of just people doing dumb stuff. What I don't like is when I know someone's going to get hurt really badly. Like those ones where guys get hit in the balls. I don't like those. I don't like it when animal videos, I can't watch any of those.
Really?
I love not the sad ones, where someone's...
Speaking of pneumatic presses, I saw something horrific this week.
Yeah.
Is that there's a particular place, it's probably Canada, where all these salmon swim upstream to obviously lay their eggs and stuff. And this bear is covered in salmon, there's salmon everywhere. The bear's like, nope. Goes for the ones with the eggs, obviously, because the bears understand there's more fats and proteins through the caviar.
Yes.
And this bear, just gets a fish and just stands on this thing. And then all the eggs come out and you just see the fish's mouth and this thing is now just squirting the eggs out. But these bears are they're horrible.
They're very vicious.
I mean, they're very fancy to want caviar over just the flesh, but they just stand there's a pneumatic press of animals. They just stand on these things, and then these pregnant salmon just.
But don't you love the way that the bear is spoiled for choice? It's like going to a 5-star Michelin star restaurant, right?
No, sorry, it would have been probably would have been a Russian bear then, because they're very fancy.
Oh yeah. That's also where you get the beluga, savruga,
and that's the thing. These black bears go in, they're wanting the beluga. Some people, what makes you genuinely joyous on the internet?
Hoof talk.
What?
Hoof talk. So it's basically like when they get the cows and they will show you something wrong with their hoof and then they fix it and then you see it squirt out at the pus. And it's just
never in a million years was I expecting that as an answer.
Oh my god! Wow!
And then they talk you through. Some of the videos
that either
talk you through what he's doing and how he's going to fix the hoof.
Jeez.
And some of them don't. It's just you're just watching this pus come out.
Oh
and
my god!
And they, carve out all the dirt and then you figure out that there's a nail in there and they have to take it out. Just makes you so happy.
That is the most niche thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Wow, hoof talk. I honestly did not even know this existed until now.
It's so
I know people
cool.
who watch the pumple popper stuff. I can't watch that either.
Yeah,
that's probably where it started.
Oh, it's revolting.
I've elevated.
Hoof tuck sounds much worse.
That's pretty where it
It's
started.
so cool. And then you can hear the cow in the beginning they're in pain and then afterwards they're in so much relief and it's just oh, next one.
Carl says, have you ever seen those funny videos of the ladies with the plumbing problems and then some guy comes over and helps her out?
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
Well, there's joy. Everyone gets it here.
That sounds like the dumbest plot ever. Who would buy that?
Sure. Okay.
And how do these plumbers always know where the house is? 'Cause I've seen some of those movies as well, Carl. They've set in the 80s. There was no GPS back in those days. There was no internet.
Sanela says, I guess I have a problem then. According to Gareth, I don't find farts amusing at all. Any shitty activity, frankly. It's all disgusting.
Yeah, that's because someone probably sat in your head as a kid and farted on you. You probably had a bullying brother or something.
Yeah,
we all have
something
traumas.
like that. Yeah. V. Rose agrees with you. Hooftok is great.
Oh yes.
No, thank you.
It's amazing. Like I love it. But also like another fave is, and it's because of this UK guy, I forgot his name. He will watch videos of like people restocking their fridges or like cupboards, whatever. But like now he has a thing like to the what? To the brim. So I also have that thing when I watch videos now, like if they don't fill it up to the brim, you did a bad job. Like no, you have to fill it up to the brim.
But what are they filling it with? Like
different containers, like sometimes the pasta, the sugar, milk,
I love
ice
those.
and stuff like that. Like, I even learned about how ice can be fancy, y'all. It's not just putting it. There's levels.
Like how can I what?
Like so, there's different molds for ice. I did not know this until I've found this on this guy's thing. So now you get the traditional one, which is just the cube.
Right.
And then now you get like even bigger cubes.
Got the big cubes.
Yeah. And then there's even the ones with the small balls that you can like make it for the cocktails. So it looks like a boba tea.
You can get actual penis ice. You can put it on cocktails too.
Really? That's
I wasn't going to take it there,
you
but
get penis molds. I've got gun molds.
I once went to someone very, very fancy's house, and they have ice, but it's not ice. It's a stone. It's a stone the size of almost a cricket ball. It fits into a glass, and if they pour you a whiskey, this thing which has been in the freezer,
an actual stone,
a stone. It's like a polished piece of marble or whatever. And this thing keeps
you got fancy friends.
Yeah. This keeps your glass super cold, and it's heavy as hell.
It's the kind of place you go to in the dog barks in French.
Yes. The dogs all speak French. Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, because I know you get like hot stone therapy, which I understand. Because
you get cold stone drinks.
That makes a lot of sense.
Stone cold Steve Austin
drinks.
You need
some pretty solid glassware, though, huh? You can't just be throwing that into something dainty.
No, it's proper. Yeah, it'll break the glass.
Order a whiskey, you get 2 kilograms in your hand.
It also forces you to be fit in order to drink because you're essentially lifting. That's what you're doing. Vyasan says, I love those videos dubbed with South African accents. Durban, Indian, and Cape Colored accents are the best. I saw a very funny one yesterday of like a monkey and its baby, and the monkey's eating a cucumber, but she's like cucking all over the kid in a like Cape Colored accent. It's like, no, men, stay away from my cucumber. That kind of thing. It was very good. That was very, very fun.
Particularly, I think it was Dora the Explorer got dubbed into like Cape Colored dialogue once. It is puss funny, as they would like. It is this. It's so good because like the one thing is like the one little guy's a crack addict, another one's doing like meth.
Yeah,
and then Dora's trying to get to school, and it's like when they dub Postman Patton to it as well. That stuff's funny.
Another one. I like this. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I really like the hacks of like organizing stuff, storing stuff, packing, all those kind of. I love that stuff. I if you go through my favorites, there are only 3 categories really, because you can save stuff on Instagram. You don't just like it.
You get that little ribbon dungus thing.
By the way, your likes on X are hidden now, and apparently the likes have gone up tremendously. I saw that
because it went through a stage where when you like something, it just basically retweeted it.
Right.
So then everyone stopped liking
everyone, and then also some people don't want everyone knowing what they like. But I've got 3 categories of likes. First one is great music. So if they've sometimes it'll come up with beautiful live performance before I was born of I don't know, Joni Mitchell. Okay, and I've never seen it before. Then I like and I favorite that. The other category for me is beautiful buildings. So especially architecturally beautiful buildings that have an enormous amount of architectural detail, classical architecture, that kind of thing. So that's category 2. And category 3 is like useful hacks and stuff. So if they show you, for example, how to clean like some complicated thing in the house, the coffee machine or whatever. There's some guy and he uses bicarb and he uses vinegar and all this kind of. Love that stuff. So that's boring, but I love it. Yeah. It makes me happy.
There's a lady. I'm Balin Chapo, and I'm your housekeeper.
Her. She's great.
Gives us all the tips.
But this is like there's actual joy. Like so, at various stages of the day, I watch this flavor trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's this couple. They basically travel around Europe mostly, and they just DJ.
They're not those ones who went to Kazakhstan and got killed.
Well, no,
there was that trip that there was this couple that went on these trips and then
Still
they said,
alive.
let's go to like a war zone, and they
No.
got killed.
No, probably different.
Okay.
Not much joy in that story, Gareth. But let me bring it back. So what they do is like, and you would know this if you like house music or you want they're just
Wow.
if Skulk Bezuidener didn't dress like a pedo and was from Luxembourg, that's what the guy looks like.
Oh.
Okay.
And then he's got I assume they boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. I haven't dug that deep into the story.
Okay.
And they cruise around Europe and DJ, but then when they make these videos, it's like an hour and a half mix, whatever.
Mhm.
So the camera's on the actual like DJing setup, and then there's something cool behind. So there'll be like a mountain or like the ocean or something. And then next to it, they've got like a place where they make a meal. And over the course of the DJ set, they prepare the meal, make it, and then eat it. And they're having drinks, and they just seem like the
nice.
happiest people in the world. Like they've just got life
like
right
that.
for
like
them.
that.
Do you
They
remember,
like each other's
you remember
company, and they're just living it.
the best TV chef I ever remember? I never watched TV chefs because I find them boring. But do you remember Floyd?
Yes,
He just used to get drunk.
but that's how it used to be.
Yeah, and
Had to
he
be.
would get super drunk while he was making these amazing meals all over the world, traveling. I mean, it was basically an excuse. He just wanted to travel and cook food and drink, and we just got to go along with him. That's pretty much the best way.
And
to
that was
live.
before celebrity chefs and
Yeah.
the cooking channel, all that
He was
kind
the
of
first
stuff.
one.
Okay.
He was like, he must have lived a good life. Huh?
Yeah,
He probably died earlier than he probably could
cirrhosis
have.
of the liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Sure.
You know, my favorite, says Mapelo, is the Xhosa lady who does the car character voiceovers. She's great.
Okay.
Temba Robin, who's been on the show a couple of times, he's MM's favorite. And you know what? It's so cool that you could find anything that you want. If you're a history nerd like me, you will find documentaries on there that you won't get anywhere else that are awesome
Mhm.
about the most bizarre things. I watched a video the other night on like them opening the tomb of St. Edward the Confessor.
Ooh.
You're not going to find that.
He must have had a really big thing to confess if his name was that. But this is what the internet has, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
We get into these horrible habits of watching such inane bullshit so much.
Mm-hmm.
But like, obviously, when you get to know yourself more as a person, you find what you really enjoy.
Sure.
Like your niche topic.
I
That
mean,
was-
hoof talk.
but
Holy shit.
there's actual joy to be had.
Of course. No, this is very good. Okay, so we've given you enough of a warning here, but you've got to go and watch Ben's new show. He's out of here. Doing anything fun for the long weekend?
No, I've had quite a busy week. A friend of mine is going to come around to my place tomorrow. We're going to do 3 degrees on the ice bath, which is
What?
3
Jesus,
degrees.
isn't it
But
cold
like,
enough?
yeah, it's a mental thing, and he's never gotten that low before. He's got into it, so 3. We're going to do 3, and then I've got some doing a family thing with Daniela, which is going to be nice. On Sunday, just very chilled, watching US Open golf.
All right.
Like I said, like the US Open at this place. This is my ultimate major.
Thank you, Ben. Very nice to see you. We will catch up with you in your show next week and on this show next Friday.
Fantastic. Lovely
Very
being here
good.
as always. Ciao.
Ben Karpinski, and you can check out all of the sport content on his brand new sports show, which you will find on the Real Network. And you can just follow the links. It's all over our social media too. You shouldn't have any trouble finding it. So, one other thing I did want to show you quickly, Simphiwe. You said you find hoof talk interesting.
Yes.
So I've got this video of a rhino. Now I know if this happened to me, I'd just shit myself. There's no short, sweet, ugly, or pretty way to put this. But if they've got like all this upbeat music here in the video, and it's so unnecessary because this is terrifying. Watch this quickly, and then you can see what I mean. Take a look at this. Mm-mm. No, all you'd hear from me was and then I would just drop dead.
Like you're
Yeah.
He was so calm, like so
Way
calm.
too
and,
calm.
And then he's just like, I bet you he's telling everybody else, just calm down, guys, just got this. And I would have been like, dear Lord Jesus, I knew I wasn't supposed to come here. I'm sorry for testing you. Like I would have been in prayer, like,
right. That would be a very scary. I don't know why they were doing that. If this guy's like he's like a rhino whisperer or something, but I wouldn't take a chance. They can't see very well. A rhino can maybe see a couple of meters in front of it at best. So it doesn't really know what it's looking at. And if it thinks that you could be small and vulnerable, it will go for you. So I don't know if you want to do that. I really don't.
Yeah,
I think that's a silly move.
That no, don't try animals.
Very stupid.
Don't do that.
Very stupid. But I'll tell you what's not stupid is having Colonel Chris Wyatt here with us. You often will find him in the comments section, but he's been on the show a couple of times before. The beard is looking magnificent, majestic. Look at that beard. How are you?
Gareth, I'm doing quite well. Yeah, the beard is actually shorter, I think, than the last time I was on the program.
It looks good.
Maybe it's a little thicker.
And you know Simphiwe?
Yes, we've met previously. I've been on several times. But, I really have to want to come on the show. I have to travel 6,000 miles. Apparently, Zoom doesn't work from the U.S.
Well, we like you being here in person. It's nice to see you. And I know you weren't just here by chance because you were very interested in what happened in our election. I'll talk to you about that for a little bit just now. We try to do No Politics Friday, but we'll make an exception because Chris Wyatt's here with us today. Let me remind anybody who doesn't remember, he is a retired U.S. Army colonel, intelligence operative. He's got a big interest in South Africa, and he spent a lot of his post-military time making sense of the big changes in this country, which is always good because, a lot of South Africans are interested in America, but it's good to have some Americans interested in South Africa. God alone knows. I don't think your current president could find us on a map. Well, I don't think he could find his wife on the map of the White House.
Well, it is a lighthearted Friday, and I don't know if you know, but Joe Biden was actually here once upon a time. He told the story about how he visited Nelson Mandela at Robben Island.
Yeah, he said he went
in Soweto.
He said, he went.
Wow,
yeah.
whoa.
It's on tape. There's a video. I'm not making this up.
Soweto, Robben Island,
right.
two different
little
provinces.
geographically challenged, that's Joe.
Wow.
That's just Joe.
Did you see him? Oh, I'm gonna have to get up and do this. I'm sorry, guys.
With the handshake?
No. They've just had the summit with all the world leaders somewhere in Europe, and they were all. It's just been on the internet, and while they're all standing for a photograph, Joe just gets up and just goes. And then he stands there like this.
Joe.
And then one of the presidents has to come and fit. He's standing there like this. And then someone taps him. I think it's the Italian PM or whatever. Taps him on the shoulder, and Joe turns around. And he goes.
So it's interesting.
They all move, like all the other leaders
come towards him
around him, and then they take the picture, and he's standing there like this.
It's like a wounded wildebeest. They all come around to protect the wounded one from the line.
It's so bad, right?
No, it's really bad.
This is your president, and he's the most powerful man in the world.
Don't tell anybody. No, please. No, the nuclear football is kept away from him.
I'm very concerned. Like I think about that all the time. We always hear about how the Bay of Pigs invasion and how close we were to nuclear war with the Russians and Khrushchev and Kennedy, and there was that phone call, and Bobby called the Kremlin and said, whatever happens, don't do this, and we'll do that. And it was like brinkmanship. That's where the word came from. And it was like, if something had gone wrong, we would have had so many nukes launched that the place would have looked like in the scene from the Terminator, right? When the robots are like trudging through this desolation, this dystopian world. Now, I think about that because Joe and Kamala, who's cackling like a hyena all the time, these two have the nuclear football with them, and it really scares the shit out of me. I know everyone's telling me I should be worried about Donald Trump, who's apparently a convicted felon now, so we need to take him super seriously.
Non-existent crime.
But we don't know what the crime is, right?
Exactly. It doesn't exist.
But this is your president, so if anything goes wrong, people, just don't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about U.S. politics. As an American who spent 36 and a half years in the Army, 34 in active duty, 23 overseas, 5 combat tours, frankly, I'm embarrassed. I defended the Constitution not for white, brown, or black, Christian, Muslim, or Jew, but for Americans.
Yeah.
And I sit around sometimes and say, what have I done with my life? Look at this joke that we're becoming. It's really, look, I'm proud to be American. I'd never trade that in for anything, but it's just, I just like watching Monty Python these days.
No, it is.
It's just a flesh wound.
No, it's crazy. I do see you wearing a Bulls jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I
Look
was
at
told
you.
that it's a little chilly in the studio, but the Viking, I should have came in shorts. It's comfortable in
Yeah.
here. But I am in town, of course, for the Bulls game, the semifinal
Okay,
at
very
Loftus.
good.
Yep, I have press credentials with the Bulls, and so I go to those games. I was there last week. The Bulls won. It was not the most impressive
No,
performance.
apparently it was very, very thin little margin of winning.
Well, I mean, actually, I
We
could have
spoke
put
about it.
I could have put my
earlier, yeah.
boots on and played defense and done a better job. I think.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
Yeah. Now Ben
oh.
did say that he's not betting any money on them this
No,
coming
but
weekend.
it's not over. They can win this game. They just have to play to their potential, and Leinster has to come in thinking they're going to win automatically, which does happen occasionally. So we'll see. I'm hoping it's a good thing. I go to the press conference afterwards, and I'd rather ask Jake questions when he's in a good mood than a bad mood.
So, Chris, you've been watching our elections. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on now. What do you have to say?
Well, a couple
You
things.
can criticize us like I just had a go at Biden.
No,
You
well,
tell us what we're
I mean,
well,
our president is called Cupcake.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Cupcake.
get started there.
That's what you call it. Simphiwe.
Munir Palapala. Yeah. Munir
right.
Palapala. So let me start with a compliment. First off, I barely got my passport. First, people complain about home office here quite a bit with good reason, but it took me 7 weeks to get my passport renewal. I almost didn't make it. Yeah. Can you believe that? That's because the State
ridiculous.
Department doesn't do the passports. They send them out to contractors. And if you get the wrong contractor, apparently they sit on it.
Oh,
So I got my passport just before the election. I managed to book a flight. I arrived on the 28th. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been much
Yeah,
purpose.
see, that's just.
So I was going to come to Gauteng and cover it, but I wound up in the Western Cape because that's where the flight went. And it turned out to be actually a good spot to go.
okay.
I managed to go to 10 polling stations on the day of the election, the 29th. So I started in Somerset West. There were about 800 people in line at 9:45 in the morning. It was hectic, yeah. And so we got the impression early on that there was a massive turnout, but that had a lot more to do with uneven training for the IEC officials working the election station or polling stations. Back home, I'm a judge of elections, and so I know how these things work, and I oversee the elections. And it's pretty clear to me that there was uneven training from one station to another. There were some fantastic ones. I was at Woodbridge Primary, and there were like 400 people in line, and next thing I know, they were gone like in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was really fast, but the line kept building, but people kept getting out of there.
Okay.
But other places like Parklands and then also Somerset West, there's just massive queues because they just weren't ready for it, weren't prepared.
But in the end, again, I hate to contrast our two countries because I know you love both, but like we didn't have mail-in voting, which is just
Thank
bullshit.
goodness,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
well,
that's
it's fraud,
bullshit.
just fraud.
And we don't. Our election was declared free and fair pretty quickly afterwards, except obviously for the MK party who are bitching and moaning about a few votes that they. I mean, they won and they're unhappy.
They did better than anyone even Look,
Yeah, right.
I projected based on all these polls that came out somewhere between 7 and 13%. And I was a little bit off the mark.
Yeah, they got 14.
14 and a half. Yeah. So I'm going to crow if I can real quick.
Sure.
And then I'll come back to the compliment.
Go on.
So there was one analyst in the world who said in November of 2021, after the municipal elections, that the ANC would not do better than 38 to 42% in this election. Only one.
Sure.
And he was told he was crazy and knows nothing about South African politics. That was me. The record's there. I said it and I stuck by it. Now, that was before the gift of 360 days of load shedding last year or the rise of MK. But looking at the data, looking at the situation, paying close attention to the internal ANC insurrection in KZN in July 2021, is obvious to me that millions of South Africans had given up on the ANC and they would exercise their protest by simply not voting. We saw that. If you watch and look at the data very carefully in KZN, the IFP only gained 2% more vote nationally. But they went from 9 to 24 municipalities under the control, with either an outright majority, a majority coalition, or minority coalition. Why? Because ANC voters stayed home. They were angry.
Yeah.
They had had enough of it. And if you look, a lot of people are like, well, the reason the ANC lost this election is because of MK. That's simply not true. Look at the data. The MK party got 2.3 million votes. The ANC lost 4 million votes, 10.4 million to 6.4 million.
That's a good point.
The EFF took about 300 votes from the EFF. They've been devastated in KZN. They almost don't exist anymore.
300,000 votes.
Yeah, they took 300,000 votes from the EFF across the nation. MK did. They probably took about 1 million votes from the ANC, but that probably wasn't enough given the low turnout that they would have lost the majority. They would have been right on the knife's edge. But the bottom line here is that the turnout was so low. And in my view, looking at and talking to people and seeing what's been happening, it appears to me that Gayton McKenzie with the Patriotic Alliance and Jacob Zuma energized people who were not going to vote or who hadn't voted. They didn't, all this nonsense about the DAs losing votes in the Western Cape to the PA. No, there may have been some folks who changed their ballot, but most folks didn't. This is mostly people who hadn't been voting. They've come back out to vote now, and they did so out of a cult of personality, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
But that's why they did it. And if without those people, which is at least 1.5 million voters, the turnout would have been even more abysmal and sad. And for me, that's the worst part, that people give up on elections, because it's your one chance to make a change. And a lot of people don't believe you can make a change, but you can. Trust me, I just ran for office and didn't win. More people needed to come out.
Yeah, that was you were in Illinois?
No, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. Okay. Yeah, well, it's a tough place. Have you still got, hang on, isn't, what's his name?
Fetterman?
John Fetterman.
Yes, John Fetterman. He's our senator, our illustrious senator.
He's brain damaged. And
well,
he's
I'm actually wearing a hoodie in honor of John Fetterman today, because that's how he appears in the Senate. Talk about sad.
Actual brain damaged guy, and he's in the Senate. So I see a lot of people complaining about the government and national unity. I see some people who are very excited about it. Some people just completely misread this thing. I saw some really stupid posts yesterday of, today's the day John Steenhuisen becomes president.
Unlikely.
I was like, come on, guys. But I do notice that the people who are making the biggest noise are the ones who are probably going to be left out.
Sure.
And this is their last time to make like a primal scream.
Before they disappear into the woodwork.
Because after this, they become irrelevant, right?
Well, the MK just became irrelevant in KZN despite winning 45% of the popular vote. How bumhurt is Jacob Zuma and the MK going to be? Because they won 45%, and we see a coalition that came together that now has 41 seats. They only have 37. And even if they take the tiny 2 seats from the EFF, that just gives them 39, so they can't rule. So they're in a tough spot, because the ANC, the IFP, so you got the IFP, the second largest party with 18%, the ANC, the third largest party with 17%, and the DA, the fourth largest party with 13%, coming together with 40 seats. And then they got the NFP. They somehow managed to get them to come to the fold.
Well,
41.
I saw someone asking, here's a question for all the white people living in the Western Cape. If the ANC got 17% and the PA got 18%, and the votes of the DA combined 45%, would you accept Gayton McKenzie as a premier? But I think that's really completely a different story.
Well, I can't do that math. I'm still trying to figure out what you said.
What he's trying to say, obviously, is like you're actually removing the will of the people from the equation, which is not true.
But that's not true. So, for instance, in KZN, and I get this all the time on because I've been full mode all election all the time. That's all I've been doing since I've been here. I mean, I've neglected the rest of my news coverage around the world for the most part. That's probably why I didn't know Joe Biden got lost. but that's just another Tuesday, Joe Biden getting lost. No, people are like, well, the MK won the majority. No, ladies and gentlemen, a majority is not a plurality. A majority is 50 plus 1. 55% of the voters in KZN who bothered to rock up at a poll voted against MK.
Right.
Now, to be fair, nationally, 60% of the voters vote against the ANC, but also against every other party out there. So the point here is that you need to form a majority, and they have to have the votes, and MK doesn't have it there. And the national level, well, let's see what happens this morning. After the results came in and we started getting a good feel for where they're at, I noticed that the only major political party that gained votes was the Inkatha Freedom Party. They gained about 30,000 votes. The ANC lost 4 million. The DA lost 115,000 votes. And by the way, they're down from 2014 in their zenith under Helen Zille when they had 4,091,000 raw votes. They're down to 3,500,000, even less than Musi Maimane. He got 3.6 million.
But you have John saying he got more black votes this time around.
Well, he probably did. No, he probably did. But we don't know that yet because you don't do exit polls the way we do in the States. He probably did. If you look the last time in 2019 in Gauteng, the DA got 18% of black voters. And people keep talking about them as a white party. They're not a white party. They're a multiracial party, and the majority of the voters are actually colored. But yeah, it's look, there's a lot of ways to slice this apple. It's interesting. I'll tell you one thing about South Africa is it's never boring. It's never boring. It doesn't matter what day of the week. We either got something going on in Phoenix or
I love that you're so interested in our politics, because I find it is fascinating. We're going through an incredible change at the moment, and whatever happens today, I mean, a lot of people are pinning all their hopes on politics, which is so dangerous because the politicians are not your daddy. They're not going to make your life better, That in the long run, there may be slight improvements, or there might be slight kind of downward spirals. But by and large, it takes a long time for the politicians to start affecting your actual life. And if they start making better decisions, which we can guarantee just because they all have to get together and talk about it now, doesn't take one party to make those decisions, things are automatically going to go up a few percent. It's going to get a little bit better in everything. And that's good. We should be happy about this.
Well, ultimately, people have been asking me, so what do you think? And I said, well, this is probably the best possible outcome for South Africa. Honestly, the ANC was not going to get down to 33%, and the DA was not going to get up to 30%. I didn't expect that. I figured 23 to 27 is probably where they fall, and they came in at just below that. So I was slightly wrong on that. But this is probably the best possible outcome. No longer will policy be determined and dictated from Latuli House. They'll actually have to be debate in committee in parliament. You'll have to horse trade and dicker like the way politics are supposed to work.
Right.
It'll be ugly. It'll be messy. It'll be like making sausage. But you know what? That's good. The problem we have is that there's a lot of dead wood and a lot of criminals sitting in government. Now, the ANC messed up the regional list, and there's going to be a lot more people out of government than people realize because they didn't put the right people on the list. So it's going to be massive turnover for ANC support. Even though they went from 230 members of parliament to 159, it's going to be a little more painful than that. People don't
What
realize.
do you reckon a government of national unity might look like? Because you're the kind of guy who's not afraid to make predictions.
Yeah.
And
well,
usually when you do, you've, as you just told us, you've been right. So go on.
Well, I'm not such a fan of government of national unity. I think an outright coalition is a better move. And when the results came in, it was clear that the ANC was getting around 40%. So they needed help. And I predicted the EFF was going to drop below 10%. They did. They came down to 9.5. So they can't join with the EFF. And I know that Ramaphosa cannot stand Julius Malema. So that's unlikely. MK is really irritated many people in the ANC. So that seems like an unlikely thing. So they're going to have to form a coalition. So I looked at it. And to me, the logical thing that makes the most sense that is supposed to do what politicians are supposed to do, be servant leaders for the people. A lot of them forget that. They think that their blue light escorts and their fancy mansions and their big paychecks make them special.
Figile.
Yeah, they seem to think that makes them special, but they put their boots or their skirts on the same way every day. The rest of us do. I'm not wearing a skirt. Anyway, a lighthearted moment there. But no, but the thing is that, so I said this in my campaign. I said that the reason I ran for office is that too many politicians do this for craven political power, self-aggrandizement, or self-enrichment. And if any politician is doing that, they need to hit the road and foot sec. So there are a lot of them will still sit in parliament that are like that. But the good news is a lot of people coming in who are fresh. And I'm not talking about people who still have milk dripping behind their ears at 20 years of age. I'm just saying fresh faces coming in, and maybe we'll see some. But the coalition that I recommended after seeing is that with the IFP party gaining 4%, nearly 4% of the vote, and the only major party to increase their vote total, it makes them a credible presence with nearly 4%. Also, the leader of that party is very straightforward, very honest, very forthright. And he's been mentored by Mangosuthu Buthelezi for decades. And Velenkosini Hlabisa, in my view, the DA and the ANC, neither of whom got a majority in this election, should be humble, sit back, not nominate a presidential candidate. They should nominate Hlabisa from the IFP. Yeah, he should be the president. Totally not this nonsense of creating a second deputy president. This is Zimbabwe 2008 all over again, where they created the prime minister's position for Morgan Tsvangirai. It was just ridiculous. There's no real power. Make Hlabisa the president. He's a Zulu. That should calm some Zulu hearts. Plus, the king has already said it's a free and fair election. That should calm things even more. And then we can move on. But, and I say this now, and I've said it for months and the past couple of years, as we head towards a multi-party coalition or a government of national unity in South Africa, South Africans must realize that this could be Italy 2.0. From 1945 until the year 2000, Italy had I think 87 different governments, constantly collapsing.
Get ready.
Well, yeah, this could be Nelson Mandela Bay all over again. You know, people undermining the coalition. Well, I didn't get this job. You didn't do this for me. And given there's so many dishonest people in government, that's going to be a challenge. If they were all honest, you know. But look, I'm not just dumping on South Africa. I mean,
no, this is true all over the world.
I tell people about America. I said, look, there's 435 members in the House, 100 senators. Of the 435 members in the House, I would say, in my view, there's probably about 75 who are patriotic Americans who consider themselves to be servant leaders. They're there to serve the needs of the people and make the country a better place. In the Senate, maybe 25. So the rest of them there for their self-aggrandizement, their blue light escorts, their self-enrichment, and craven political power.
So quick question. What happens to all the parties that don't join the government of national unity? Like, are they just going to disappear in the background?
Well, it's an interesting thing because party politics, really pollutes the water. So in theory, it should matter which party a person's in if you're in parliament, right? Okay. So if the national health insurance comes up as a bill to vote on, all good, decent politicians should say no, because it will destroy South Africa's economy and it won't work. We've seen this movie over and over again. So they shouldn't vote along party lines. So it shouldn't matter. But in reality, we know that in most instances, in most countries, people vote the way their party tells them to. And so those parties will be in the official opposition. They won't work together, but their vote will be there. So for instance, the Freedom Front Plus had 10 members and they did very poorly. They've dropped back to 6 now. Action SA, Herman Mashaba didn't make the big splash that his party hoped to. They have 6. So, and then, Musi Maimati's back in parliament and he gets to bring a friend. How nice is that? That's really cool.
It's like when you get an invitation to a party and they say, bring a partner.
That's
and you're
right.
like, oh, thank God, because I didn't know how I was going to tell my wife that she couldn't come.
Now, the good news for Musi is that that beverage you were talking about with the cold stones, there aren't a lot of those, but there'll be enough for 2 at Parliament, so he could bring his friend and enjoy that beverage.
That's sweet. That's
nice. It is.
Yeah.
I think that's special.
Okay.
And Tiny Pat is down to 1 seat.
Shame. Pat, like, what's that guy we had, Brett Herron?
Oh, Brett
I don't know
Herron.
what he's going to do anymore.
He's in the provincial legislature. He's there.
Oh, so he found a seat as well.
Yeah, well, he
managed
voted,
to
he
scramble.
voted against
It's like
Alan Levy.
musical chairs, right?
Yes.
They all go running around the desk, and then there's only one chair left.
The good news is it might no longer be the Titanic where they're shifting those chairs here for South Africa. It might just be actually a better, brighter future. Let's hope. Speaking of which, driving here this morning, beautiful sunrise coming up. We're cresting. It just made me think, wow, maybe a new dawn for South Africa. But I'm not
such a fan of the New Dawn idea because it didn't really work last time. I don't like that terminology.
I'm not a rube, Gareth.
No, I don't like that terminology.
Hey, if I had something before we get to the end of the hour here. So you were talking in the last segment about good news stories and people hearing good news stories.
Yes.
Look, folks, I like good news stories, but nobody wants to hear that stuff. I mean, I listen to you guys. It's very entertaining. It's very true. But Gareth, you have some very esoteric interests that I guess I'll have to take a look at those things. But seriously, during the lockdown, I struggled so hard to find good news stories for South Africa, and I found them. For instance, South Africa has become the world's largest macadamia nut producer and exporter. Yeah, and most of the new farmers are non-traditional.
Great.
As in historically disadvantaged and women.
Small
farmers.
scale.
Small scale, yeah.
Right.
And it's done very well for South Africa. And so I covered that story. And but I did a documentary on Goed Constantia, is one of the oldest vineyards. And and on this trip, it's been mostly politics, and that's been driving a lot of viewers and a lot of comments and a lot of hate wankers and trolls coming to the channel as well.
Yeah, what kind of comments do you get on your?
Oh, I get them all. I get the you don't know what you're talking about, you're wrong. But usually people just make an allegation or they make a statement without offering any substance.
Of course, no.
It's
that
just
would require evidence, and they don't have the time for that.
Yeah, it's an emotional release. But I get some fantastic and wonderful comments, and I guess one of the things really fascinating for me. Let me finish the penguins. So I made a video about Betty's Bay about the penguins. I mean, it's a lovely story. I mean, it's nature. It's beautiful. Who doesn't like the penguins unless you live next to them and they poo all over the place?
They smell disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you get to watch them from a distance or pop up down there at Hermanus or somewhere or down at Simonstown, you can see them occasionally. But I mean, like 500 views in that video. I do a live stream and 24,000 people show up because I'm talking about the politics, So people say they want good news stories, but they never go to them.
Yeah.
And that's why newspapers are full of blood and gore because nobody opens the paper to go, puppies. It just
what
doesn't work that
happens
way.
is your reptile brain overrides the higher function.
It does.
So what?
Because you get a release for
Well, that's it. So news media have figured out that in order to keep you in a cycle of coming to their site, clickbait stuff, looking at the bad news stories, murder, chaos, mayhem, crime, rape, disaster, government falling apart, election disasters, whatever it is they have to do to get you to keep coming, they have to appeal to the reptile brain. The minute you do a nice cuddly story about the penguins, they're like, your brain goes, no, that's not so important.
No, that's not really
we'd
important.
save that for when we've got 20 minutes and we're doom scrolling at night. But right now,
Biden's near the football.
Right now it's near. It's what we need to be paying attention to immediately. It's like survival stuff.
Absolutely.
Fight or flight.
Now, this is the part where I'll confess to a senior moment. What were we talking about a moment ago before I finished the penguin story?
I was asking you about the comments.
Oh, the comments. Yeah. Look, I'm not. If nothing, I'm honest. But
I like that about you.
So
you were talking about how you get comments from people who are like really positive and that they love what you're doing, and then you get people who just give you shit and won't give you evidence as to why you're giving why you deserve shit.
I mean, look,
whatever.
you can say I'm wrong and you can have an opinion. That's great, but back your opinion up with something. Oh, your facts are wrong. Okay, well, not really. Facts are facts. I mean, there is no such thing as your truth and my truth. There is just the objective
truth. Yeah.
That's right. You can have your opinion, I have my opinion.
Right.
So, but I welcome that. But I appreciate if people have substance behind it. But where I was going with that story is that, each time I come back to South Africa, it's absolutely amazing, because if I look, just like, say, for instance, one of my social media presences is on YouTube. That's the bigger one. And I look at the number of subscribers. It looks like there aren't many people watching, but a lot of South Africans are very suspicious.
Yeah.
And they don't have YouTube accounts, but they'll watch your content. And of course, you don't get credit for the view or the hours watched or any of the ad revenue. And YouTube gets all that. So, and the reason I say this is that some of my viewers have been telling me this for the past couple of years anecdotally, that a lot of people know who you are in South Africa. And every time I come, I wind up in the strangest places. People walk up to me and they recognize me.
That's cool.
Yesterday,
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, it's awesome. Getting off the plane yesterday, coming up from Durban, I was heading down the ramp because it came in a different gate. And I'm like, this isn't right. I think we're supposed to turn left. And I couldn't see the sign. I was right under it. And the gentleman in front of me was sitting in the front row with me. He kept walking. He had a hearing aid. He couldn't hear very well. So I stopped and looked. And then the person behind me went and like, aha, this is the right path to get to the escalator to go to the carousels. And I called to the gentleman. He couldn't hear me because of his hearing aid. So like, hey. So I got his attention. He came back. Otherwise, he'd wander all the way down. We went down. And that delay, this is just fate, right? That delay, which was probably 30 seconds or so, meant that I reached the escalator to go down at OR Tambo to get to the carousels on the domestic side. At the exact moment that this very lovely gentleman got there with me, I stopped, let him go, and he said, I know you. And I said, of course, I'm struggling. I'm kind of knackered. I've got from Cape Town up to here, down to PE to Durban. And so I'm just trying to catch my breath, working 16 hours a day. And he looked familiar, but I couldn't recognize him. And I said, well, I'm Chris Wyatt. He goes, you've interviewed me. And I'm searching my brain, looking at the hard drive. I got a buffer. Bram van Straten, the legendary Springbok. I interviewed 3 years ago. Interviewed him twice. Yes. I interviewed Bram when talking about his life and his career, what he's doing when the Southern Kings folded, because he was with them. And then when he did the Bermuda Tens, he was coaching. But
damn, that's cool.
In his golden years, he was called during the tournament onto the pitch because the kicker was injured and won the game at the Bermuda Tens for his team. So Bram recognized me there. That was pretty cool. Then I went downstairs and I was standing there. And of course, I'm a big fan of the Comrades, and I actually caught the finish of it in Durban. He did a live broadcast.
Oh, nice. Yeah, how was that? Was that a good brilliant experience? It
was fantastic.
I hate the Comrades. It makes me depressed. But
no. You got to be absolutely crazy.
I don't want to see those people running. It's cold. It's miserable.
No.
They nobody cares.
Well, I care. I was there.
Once that one person is won, they must all go home. You know my feeling on this.
Oh, that's very harsh.
That's the fact that they participated.
And then those sad ones right at the end. Oh, no. Please.
Yes, you watch for the first person who crosses, and you need to see what time. You're like 1 hour something. Shout out to you.
Nah,
and then you watch it for everybody else who it's been 12 hours they've been running, and you're like,
no one has ever gone,
you can do it.
You can do it. And you're like, Gareth.
No one has ever gone, Dad, show them your bronze comrade medal again. Dad. No kid ever.
No, but you know, they're really sad.
South Africans or the average person, like the fact that they completed that on its own, whether you number one or not.
Stupid thing to complete. Completely stupid.
We go from cuddling penguins to the dissing other comrades. Wow. No wonder I have to travel 6,000 miles to get on this show.
Those ones who crawl across the line because their legs give in.
That's the sad part, Gareth, is people actually pass away.
Yeah, I know.
In 2022, I watched.
Why would you do that?
I watched someone die. It was really sad.
Horrible.
You watched?
Well, there was nothing I could do. There were medics there on the scene. Let them do their thing. I mean, I have medical.
He stood there and went,
yeah, another one bites the dust. Ooh.
Die.
Too soon? Yeah. No, but anyway, so back to this. So I go to my carousel and a lady's standing there and she's got a comrade's jacket on. I'm like, that's interesting. So I started asking, of course, they put
because they want to advertise that they ran this stupid race no one needs to run.
Gosh, here we go. Boy, he's bitter. What's in your coffee? What's in there? You need that. You need that drink with a rock in it.
I was eating the rock. That's why I'm
okay. So back to this. Yeah. So I couldn't see her sleeve because it was under. Then she turned. I started to ask a question. You ran. I said, did you finish? Because not everybody finishes. And she's very fit. I mean, unlike a lot of people around the comrades, I'm still scratching my head on that one. Anyway, so she turned around and said, oh, you're a finisher. Anyway, her name is Talent. She's from Bulawayo. And I'll be interviewing her soon. I'm looking forward to that. Big excited. And again, that'll be a good news story for everybody except Gareth.
Yeah.
So we
know what's great about this weekend?
Gareth will not be watching it.
There's obviously a long weekend. Everybody's very excited about the long weekend coming up. There's no comrades. You don't have to watch that miserable stuff. It's going to be amazing. And it's cold, so stay indoors. Don't do anything that you don't have to do this weekend. Listen, I love having you here, Chris. It's always good to see you. And I hope that more and more South Africans recognize you and more of them watch your channel. It's great. I love the stuff that you have to say. And I love the fact that you go in and you find out, you go in firsthand and you ask the questions. You are there, you're present to see the stuff, which so many of us, we couldn't be bothered, or we follow bad news sources, or we follow people who say that they've been there, but they haven't. And you actually do the stuff. So I would encourage anybody who wants another good news source to follow this man.
Well, it's very kind of you. I
Pay
appreciate
attention
that.
to him. He's good.
No, I
And
appreciate it.
Simphiwe, you got plans for your you didn't even know it was going to be a long weekend. So
I'm going to make plans now.
she could get on the phone straight after the
Be out in
show.
the bush hunting for a gemspot this weekend.
Right. That's it. Very, very good. All right, everyone. Have an excellent weekend, long weekend. We will see you on Wednesday next week. Behave yourself until then. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Simphiwe. Thank you, Ben. And most especially, thank you